the Select Board, May 4th, 2026. Calling the order at 6:30 p.m. First item is to consider adjustments or additions to the agenda.
I have two.
Well, that's good. So do I. Go ahead.
Could we add, it could be at the end, unless somebody's really into this stuff. Can we add appointment to assessor interlocal select board appointment as one item and another as assessor extra hours for this year?
Okay, and so we will put that in as number 22. Okay. John.
I have one, I was talking to Seth Jensen, last Friday. He got a hold of me, late in the afternoon. He wanted to talk to the board about using the, Johnson gravel pit as a categorical facility to accept low-level material, not only from the town of Johnson, but from, outside, communities where they would pay us to drop the material there. And I see Tori Helwig is on. She was gonna talk to the board about that.
Yep, great, thank you. So we're gonna slide that one in between 10 and 11, call it 10B. So that it follows the Act 181 discussion, which Tori may have comment on as well. Okay. So that was one of mine. The other is to add another executive session at the end, as allowed under 1 VSA section 313A4 for personnel. So that'll be at the very end after the executive session that's already on schedule. Any others? Okay. Reviewing invoices and orders that are going around. Public comment or public announcements? Okay,
They'll be coming.
hearing none. Yeah, there'll be plenty later, huh? Select board updates and concerns. I have a couple I'd like to throw out. First of all, thank you to Adrian for coordinating the cleanup day.
No
It
problem.
went very well, and thanks very much, and thanks to everybody who participated. Secondly, just to let everyone know, the town of Johnson sent 2 letters in support of VCRD's climate economy initiative. That's one of their foundational grants, and they've been very supportive of the town of Johnson. So thank you to Diana Osborne for writing one of them, and I wrote the other, and hopefully they will be effective. Lastly, just a thought, I'm not really sure I want to add this to the agenda necessarily, but I want to get it out there. We talked a little bit about the form-based code last meeting and form-based code administrator. And we put out an RFP, and I think I was a little bit asleep at the wheel. I'm not really sure why we did that. In the past, it's been the town administrator filling that role, and I think that's the way it should continue, personally. So I'm throwing that out for the board discussion. Is that something you'd like to think about more? Should we add it to the agenda, or should we
I
punt it to a future meeting?
I thought the process was that the planning commission gives a recommendation to the select board, but the planning commission has to put an ad in the
The
paper.
planning, you don't have to put an ad in the paper, but the planning
Okay.
commission does have to make the nomination to the select board, and then we approve or don't. But my suggestion is that we ask the planning commission to nominate John. That's kind of where I'm going, rather than hiring somebody to do a job that's always been part of the town administrator's
Mhm.
position.
I'm good with that.
But do we need to reach out to the planning?
Please.
So we reviewed your CV
Mhm.
and we eminently qualified. But we haven't taken a vote on it. So last time we talked about it, our last meeting, meeting next week. We were kind of under the assumption that the town administrator had the job already. So I can't formally say that we voted for John, but I don't see that that would be a problem.
Okay, well, question, have we received any responses to our RFP?
I think one person came in and got an application for it.
Okay. Okay, so I guess we can just hold off on that and see if they apply and see what the planning commission comes up with.
Okay, so then I give an update next.
Fine. Yep. Thank you very much. Others, select board.
I was also gonna thank everyone that came out for Green Up Day. I think it was a great turnout. And thank you to the Public Works Department for going around and picking up all the bags. Yeah, I think it was great. Right, especially with the weather, it still had a good decent turnout.
And the fire department as well.
In the fire department, yeah.
Big help. Okay, next item, we are up to the consent agenda, considering approving the minutes for April 20th.
So move.
Second.
The minutes from April 20th, 2026.
Okay, we have motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstain? The ayes have it. Clerk and treasurer's report, warrants, licenses, and action items. Rosemary, it's all you.
I don't have any licenses for this month. Got the budget status report. And we received the school true up for their taxes, so that is the correct figure on current taxes at $2,314,117. And so far, the mud season has been very good to Johnson. We are at 68% of spent for the budget.
And 95% of revenue.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of these questions will come up later.
Go ahead.
That 50 grand in miscellaneous revenue, do we?
I'd have to look that off the top of my head. Which miscellaneous one are you looking for?
What page?
Page 1, other revenue,
Mm-hmm.
missed revenue.
Yeah.
And I guess I have a generalized comment that we're 10/12 of the way through the year. So when I look through this, I'm generally looking for anything that's over 100% spend. And when our overall revenue versus our overall spend is fine right now, I would say, but there's just a lot of items under select board expense that are high. Our town report expense should be fixed next year. The audit expense, I thought that was going to come down, but I guess not.
Yeah, you're not budgeting enough for audit expenses.
Well, we talked about it at town meeting, but I guess we'll have to be cognizant come budget time.
Yeah, 'cause we still do have some in the restricted fund that. we're
Yeah,
gonna
in
put
the reserve
but
fund.
Gonna,
Chew it right up.
yeah,
Select board consulting services, we're at 363% of spend.
some of those were grant funded consultant fees.
Maybe is that tied up in the miscellaneous revenue? Some of it,
Could be, yes.
or just overspend on a lot. I think the beautification committee got a grant, but they're 290% of spend.
Yep, they had that art project that was $8,500.
Yeah. When you get down to it, under select board expense alone, which a lot of committees are tucked under, we're at 114% of spend, and we're not through the year. It's just. Those are things I looked at.
Mhm.
Not that it really matters. Heat, we overspent on that for the library. But it was moved when? I guess we're paying for the old
No, there's no
Masonic
heat in there.
Lodge.
Yeah, we're paying the Masonic Lodge heat.
A lot of overspend. Water sewer bills for the Holcomb House, heat. I think we'll be okay, it's just. need to be
Oil
cognizant.
prices are up.
But were they up throughout the whole winter?
They are now.
They are now. But we were buying heat November, December, January, February, when they weren't. And we're still overspend. So we'll have to be cognizant when we build budgets. That's my spiel. Can't take it back now. It's already spent.
Pretty hard.
Oh, I did have an odd question. Under salaries and benefits, is that where it was? It just seemed to me, we're hitting targets on our budgeted salaries. Are right around that 83% margin, but our social security payments only at 40% of spend. Is there like a correction there? Do we have to do better math for next year? Because isn't that just a percentage of salary?
Percentage.
We're over budgeting for it. Right, wrong, or indifferent. We'll have to look through that.
Yeah.
Nice review. Thank you. Any more?
Didn't get anything.
Well, it's good to
Let's
point them out.
spend more.
Yeah. Okay, any discussion on that? Any other observations? Board? All right, first item of the work session. Is to appoint a treasurer, discussion and possible vote. John,
I guess my thought process was, we know we have Rosemary for a limited amount of time and the clock's ticking. One of the advantages of appointing a treasurer and a town clerk is they're gonna have more time with Rosemary. And once the village gets their new person on, Rosemary's gonna be pulled in a number of different directions. So that'll affect the amount of training that our employees will get.
comments, thoughts? Okay, I would entertain a motion then.
I'll make a motion to appoint Lydia as our town treasurer,
Second,
And assistant town clerk,
huh?
and assistant town clerk.
And assistant town clerk.
second that too.
Can we have further discussion?
Absolutely. Okay, we have a motion and a second discussion.
I do believe that we owe the taxpayers a rate of pay, and that will probably be dealt with under a separate item tonight. So I don't think anything's being hidden there. I will probably vote nay, and it has nothing to do with our employees. I want them to grow within the town. I just feel as though interviews should have been conducted for the best interests of the taxpayers in the town, and you are very well qualified. So it has nothing to do with any of that.
Other comments?
I can see your point, but we're kind of wasting time here because we don't have much time before Rosemary's gone. And we need to bring the new people up to snuff as soon as possible. We probably dallied on this and it should have got going a little quicker than we did. But here we are now, so we had to make the best of it.
And for the record, I guess just to round out the conversation, we talked to our attorney about our hiring policy and whether we needed to advertise positions externally and do interviews. And the answer is no. We have qualified candidates. We can post it internally, see who applies, and if we're satisfied, go forward. So that's what we ultimately decided to do as a board. Other questions, comments? Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
All right,
Aye. All opposed?
Nay, for the reasons stated.
Abstains?
He doesn't like you.
Maybe I should have abstained. No, it has nothing to do with personal relationships, and
I'm
I
just
hope that we can
joking.
work together in the future. I know we have to. And you're well qualified. It is just the process of seeking that's different to me, and I'm old.
you're old.
I'm older than him
Oh my God.
inside.
I wish I was your age.
Heaven's an old soul.
You'll understand.
All right.
That's for
You're
sure.
28.
The ayes have it rather. Okay, next item, appoint town clerk, discussion and possible vote.
Mr. Chairman, I move to appoint Susan Tinker as the town clerk, assistant treasurer for the town of Johnson.
I'll second.
Okay, We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
In the interest of fairness, do you understand where I
I
stand?
know what's coming.
I know that I'm the minority on purpose.
No, I think you're raising a really good point, and we did talk about that, but anyway,
We just didn't talk about it and open to the public session and.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
the
we're
attorney said it was okay, so it's okay.
we're legally fine.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate to have employees that want to stay on that are already qualified.
Absolutely.
So I sound like I'm talking against myself. Just call it.
further discussion. Now that Evan's finally quieted down. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
All those opposed?
Nay, for the reasons
Abstain?
already stated.
All right, the ayes have it. Congratulations to both of you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, next item, office staffing, discussion and possible vote. We have somewhere in this mess of paper I have, we have made a couple of spreadsheets.
Paul? I'll give you mine.
Okay, I've got one marked up, but take these. So anyway, we can put this on the board.
On the TV.
Yeah. Is that worth doing?
We do have to correct the assessor.
What's that?
Correct those. That's one.
Yeah, the hourly rate,
Is it lower or higher?
3804,
Current?
not 3714.
Went up because he got his,
Yeah, he got his
Vicky.
level 2 and it was super recent. I didn't even
Yeah.
catch that until last week.
Okay, well, it's pretty minor.
We're gonna discuss pay and compensation in open session. Mr. Chairman? Okay,
It's all the taxpayers' money, isn't
Yeah.
it?
that's true, but usually, people, when they have a job, they like to negotiate their salary. For that audience.
Well, we're not really negotiating here, I don't think, but we're,
The cart's
Um,
ahead of the horse because typically when you interview a candidate,
Yes, I
you
understand.
go through the process and it is a contract negotiation, which is protected. And you agree on a rate of pay. And then when you make a motion to hire that employee, you make it clear to the public on what they're compensated. But we
Right,
didn't go through the process, so it's hard to negotiate the pay.
I know.
so this is a little
Another
different.
problem.
And- Sorry, go ahead.
It's another problem we have here. But go ahead, Mr. Chairman, it's your meeting.
Thank you. So we have a couple of spreadsheets we've made to look at the current staffing. And this gets into a larger picture, is not just the 2 appointments we've just made, but this gets into restructuring with the village and separating employee duties. This gets into hiring of a CEDS and how many hours that person has. So that's why it got a little bit convoluted, because we're trying to roll all this in together and come up with something that works budget-wise. So the 2 spreadsheets we have basically have the current staffing and then proposed staffing. And the primary difference between the 2 in the proposed staffing is a CEDS position. And one's at 24 hours and one's at 40 hours. The difference between the 2, if I can look at the right one here. I like it also on one page. The CEDS position at 24 hours with the reductions in the staff in the office separating from the village represents a 3.1% decrease in our expenditures. So we're saving money. And there's all kinds of variance to that, depending on, for example, whether the CEDS position takes a family plan for insurance or a single plan and so forth. So I won't get into all those numbers, but basically that option saves us money no matter which policy they take. With the 40-hour week position, and both of these are budgeted at $40 for the CEDS per hour. With 40-hour week, it ends up a 6.5% increase in our expenditures. And again, depending on the exact amount of the insurance plan, the numbers change a little bit. So that's really the kind of the horn of the conundrum that we find ourselves on. When we did the budget, we budgeted for a 24-hour-a-week CEDS position. The board's discussed this several times, and I think there's valid points to be made on both sides. With the increased hours, obviously gives the CEDS position more time to work on things for Johnson. If they're full-time, then they have 100% focus on Johnson, which obviously is preferable. But the fact remains that we budgeted for a 24-hour position, and we are kind of locked into the budget that we presented to the voters. I think I'll leave it there. So at this point, I'd like to open up for discussion from the board and then the public, and then we'll go from there.
Can I start?
Please.
And the percentage increase, that number, 6.5% increase, that's increase on our budget on staff, not like our overall budget.
Correct.
So the difference between the full-time and the part-time is about $45,600 a year. And right now, like Paul mentioned, the CDS role is 24 hours a week, and those hours are going towards managing existing projects. There's no bandwidth for new ones that I've been able to see our current CDS have time for. I think Carl's doing a great job, but it has been just like maintaining projects that we currently have and no room for expanding and entertaining new projects and going after grants for new projects. No bandwidth to get ahead of what's coming. Town-owned building maintenance, like we were just talking about, with making our buildings more energy efficient to save us money in the long run, like projects like that. No time for flood mitigation projects. We're going through a union contract right now for the Public Works Department, and no time spent on that. No time spent on the buyout properties. No time on the Old Town Hall, unless they're able to wrap up current projects at a good rate and shuffle that back into what they're working on. Right now, we all know that we have the library project that needs more funding. No time to be able to work on that because of other projects that they're already working on. The list isn't getting shorter. And another thing to note is the Julian Scott House, which I think majority of us want to see preserved in some way. Most of us are in favor of preserving it, but not all of us are in favor of setting up a system for an employee to have enough hours to apply for grants for that work and working with the community on a plan for it. That doesn't make sense to me. You're basically saying that you want to start projects, but not see them through. One successful grant pays for this position many times over. Now's the time to invest in Johnson, and this is how we do it.
Thanks, Adrian. Other comments from the board?
That was well rehearsed.
Yeah,
I mean, I read my things. I didn't rehearse.
that's well thought out. They're all valid points.
Adrian does make a good point. Percentage increases are spread out over 5 lines in the budget, I believe. It equates to about 1.5% on our overall budget. 2%, I guess, if you're talking the delta, the full delta.
What was your figure? You said the difference between part-time and full-time, you said 45,000?
Mhm.
It's actually 35,000.
Oh,
No, it's 45.
How's it 45 if you got 96,000 total cost for full-time and $61,000 for part-time? If you take 61 from 96, isn't that 35,000?
Well, if you look at some section
Negative
3, the
14.
summary,
Yeah, -14 to +30.
Okay.
you look at the, so it's the reduction in. other
Well, if you're
places.
looking at this spreadsheet here on your total cost, that it would be 35,000. But I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna stick a wrench in the works. Again, John came with a lot of experience doing this. He's offered to do it for us. I don't think we can spend $100,000 a year for another position in the town of Johnson. We haven't even given John a chance to prove what he can do. I think it would be foolish of us to jump in to another $100,000 position in the town of Johnson, considering all the other things we have ahead of us. And if he's a dubber, he's certainly not going to pay for himself either. $100,000. So. I just one board member.
Well, I
I
mean,
won't support any position, any position until John sees, so I can see what John can do.
I'm not advocating for this UDS hours increase for them to take over John's work. I want John to do his town administrative work. I want
Well, he's doing
EDS.
that
do-
administrative.
I
And
know,
also
and that's,
more. He's
well,
offered to do it.
that's nice of him, but he should work within his description and not have to do extra work. I don't think that's fair. Put more work on an employee because we don't want to make a full-time employee.
Well, I never look a gift horse in the mouth. Adrian.
Do what?
I never look a gift horse in the
What
mouth.
about a horse?
So, if he's offered to do it for us, I'll give him a chance.
Why are there horses?
Yeah. Who brought the horses? Doug,
Think that the full-time position here would work, it's actually necessary with your light industrial park. You're going to need housing in this community if we're going to truly benefit. We need to switch from rentals to owner-owned housing. And it's really essential that be worked on. But it's also, I can speak from the Rail Trail Committee point of view, that we haven't had a project start since Tom Gallant left, you know. Carl is great at finishing stuff up, but I don't have access to other than trying to drill down myself and find things, and I have no expertise at that. And I don't have access to someone to help with writing grants and moving ahead on the rail trail, you know. We really need to try seize the opportunity to move ahead on that. I think if this were $45,000 for a truck that you have to have, you'd find the money and think it was a priority. What's missing is the tangible nature of a truck versus something that is probably bigger than a truck. It's really important. This is the time for us to move our community ahead and make it not only a place where people would probably like to live, but where they want to come and they have a place to come to and they have jobs to come to here. This is the opportunity here. And I can tell you in 24 hours, you're wasting that.
just out of curiosity, have you asked for support for grants and not gotten it? Or have you not pursued it because of the perception of?
I was here when you said that this temporary position is available only for current outstanding grants, you know, that's what he's working. And it's my understanding that his 24 hours are filled. I think he's done a great job, you know, he has worked on the rail trail project that finishing up the work that Brian Reynolds United still at it. I don't know where he is as far as working on the ridiculously required Act 50 requirement for the stone steps on that. You know, it's, you know, but there really hasn't been any, as far as I can see, any room at the top of his schedule from that.
Okay, just curious. Jesse?
Yeah, just for everyone's information, to the point, Carl was hired for a very narrow focus. Right? It was to finish up current projects. Do we know he's actually like fully maxed out at 24 hours? Or is it just that he's spending all his time on the charter?
He's certainly busy, but it's also true that we've added things to his list of things to do. So, yeah.
You've added overtime as his time.
Not necessarily overtime. We've added tasks that he's managed to fit in.
But if anyone's come to a meeting when Carl comes, he goes over a lot of stuff. So he's able to do a lot in 24 hours, but there's so much to do.
No, I'm just curious because of the time commitment question. I mean, personally, I am on the side of having a full-time position simply because they can focus and assist all the other parts of the town, committees, possibly, John, and they would have time to bring in more funds. If we look at what Randall Scott brought in, I think it was over $800,000 in grants. Is that correct?
I don't know the
Depends
number.
on
I
how
don't
you
think
read,
it was that.
depends on how you read the spreadsheet.
I guess if you include the Northern Forest one, if you include Northern Forest, probably, but
Northern Borders.
Northern Border.
Which you and Duncan and Beth did, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to me like it's a revenue generating position, not an expense. That's how I see it. And I think that we have so many things we need to invest in this town. Having more houses would be good.
okay, thanks, Jesse. Eric?
Please. I would like to speak in favor of this position, and particularly in the full-time position. I think there's a couple issues. There's the upfront money that, we'd all worry about, tax money going into it. And then what's been brought out is the investment, return on investment coming later. How much later? Good question. When things go and how they go. But my experience with quality community development and grant writing, you definitely make money on the investment. And the other factor for the full-time position, in order to get a top quality person, it's clear that you're not going to probably get someone with that kind of vigor and experience for a part-time position. Because all of us that work part-time positions know that they're half-time pay and full-time work in order to get the job done. If you're dedicated, you try to do that, then you burn out after a while. The other point would be we talked about supportive committees, and I'm on a bunch of them and have been. And the one that I find is really successful is our Lamoille River Paddlers Trail. And the reason it works so good is because we have a professional from the Northern Forest Canoe Trail that does grant writing, knows where to get it, can do that mundane administrative stuff that none of us volunteers like to do, or some of you don't even have the expertise to do it. And you get a lot done for how much you put in with your local knowledge, boots on the ground. So it just seems like for a long-term investment, it's great. Short-term, it looks a little shaky maybe. But I think if you get the right people, the right person in, you can have a real synergy going between all our volunteers, the work you guys do, the work John does, and what Carl's been working on too. So that would be. Yeah.
Thank you. Other comments? Diana?
I would second much of what Eric said, that the main value I see in this position would be supporting everybody else in town, basically other than the select board. And as a result, it would free you guys up to do select board work. I feel like you're already spread pretty thin. It's been great to see select board involvement in the various committees and forces I've been a part of. But let's face it, you guys don't want to come to another meeting. And it's sometimes
We love
challenging.
going to meetings.
Well, it's sometimes challenging to liaise appropriately with the board, who kind of has oversight of us and kind of doesn't, and mostly doesn't have the time. And I see there being great value in a liaison to the other work that has to go on in town to improve the quality of life for those of us here and for visitors alike. I think that the economic component is super important, because we need an economic development person. And if they can also do these other things that you're mentioning, that there could be their tasks, that would be great. We need that economic development component.
Thank you. I'd reiterate that Sorry.
My final point was, you maybe saw my quote in the paper about my personal beliefs that health insurance is a huge problem nationally. And I think that it's unfortunate that we have health insurance coupled to employment. And this is an example of how unfortunate it is that you have to make a decision based on something like potential benefits package over the actual needs of the town. I think that it's irresponsible to hire part-time employees without giving them the same benefits as full-time employees. And it's unfortunate that you have to pay full-time employees basically in a health insurance policy instead of in cash. That's a separate issue though. But the reason I
Yeah.
mention that is just because I would like to have the decision made by you guys on the needs and available funds, maybe how they might have to be shuffled to take from one category to pay this other one. And to avoid thinking about the health insurance aspect of it, but to not ignore that problem and to somehow do something to decouple that. If we could.
I'd love to see that. I'm not sure that's in our power though, but I get your point very much so.
But integrity would be to offer whoever the employee is, the compensation package that would be equivalent to a family of four. Full-time salary with family of four coverage. Because otherwise I feel like it's just.
Did you bring your checkbook with you?
Yeah,
Did you bring your checkbook?
yeah, I don't know.
Sure. And that's one reason why,
No,
is
I-
because the situation's so messed up.
I know, I
Yeah.
completely agree. I don't mean to make light of it. It's, I would just say from my personal feeling, I feel very much the same as many of you tonight. If I were sitting on that side of the table, that's the way I'd be voting.
Yeah.
But I'm not. And we didn't budget for this. And that's my big concern. We know the budget's tight. We were fortunate to be in the position this past year when we did the budget, but we had cash on hand. And we put $180,000 into the budget to lower property taxes for the town. That knocked it down considerably. I don't want to be the select board next year that doesn't have that money to put that in again. I'm very worried about spending every available penny. I totally agree. In the long term, it would probably pay off. But in the short term, we've got this year's budget to think about. And I don't know that we can, I don't hear anybody saying, let's pull $45,000 from pick a fund and
Let's cut
put
it
it
from the
towards
sheriff's
this.
department.
Um,
We could cut it from.
So that's the hard part. I mean, it is really a conundrum.
And just order of magnitude wise, benefits is only $7,000 difference between 24 and 40 because they escalate so quickly. But salaries 39 grand. So we're not really making this decision based on benefits.
Good.
And one thing I would like to say, I hear what everybody's saying. The word grants keeps being brought up and committee support. It basically feels like the committees want the board to hire an employee to move on their whim. Maybe that sounds negative, but as far as grants, we do have other resources out there that do really well for us. And I believe they help earn revenue for themselves for doing the administrative work for the grants. LCBC is one of them. They administer a lot of grants for us and they do a huge amount of legwork. And they collect the administration fee for those grants. To me, it just comes down to the dollar. It sounds heartless, but I think I talked 20 minutes ago about how we're over budget on several items. And we're talking about a significant amount here.
You as much as said it yourself a couple of minutes ago to free up the board so that the CED can take care of the committees. So that's not the job to be at the whim of the committees, as far as I'm concerned. It's for the whole town.
But what I could add, if possible, is that, we came to you with a $2,000 seed money from the VCRD to do the work of the town. And this board, different makeup of it, voted to not even allow a $2,000 pass-through grant for our task force. we're doing volunteer labor on behalf of everybody. And in the past, you've done pass-through grants for up to $500,000, if I believe, for other people who weren't doing even the work of the town. And if you can't manage a pass-through grant of $2,000 for a task force, that's, I mean, we need somebody who can. We need somebody who can. And if it's not the CED position, who do we go to? You know, I went to all these meetings, I found all these grants I could apply for. We're not a fiduciary agent. I could apply for grants on behalf of my task force for the town's benefit. I'd administer them myself. All you have to do is take the money and pass through. You guys voted not to do that. I need a position who will do that
Well,
as a task force volunteer.
just to be clear, 100% of the funds go through the treasurer. And I don't care if that's a conversation about a town administrator or a CEDS, it all goes through the treasurer. So hiring somebody for 40 hours, the decision's still gonna wind up here for directive to be a pass-through. And another thing I would like to note, it's probably gonna make things worse. 95% of the time of the CEDS is gonna be spent on things in the village. We're funding 100%.
Okay, the village is in the town.
True, yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
But it just,
You don't want a nice village?
That's true.
it's
Yeah.
not
but
that I don't want a
it's-
nice village, it's just, you know, we're not talking about 10 grand here. We're talking about 40. And that's perpetual. And there's no conversations about the continued cost outside of employee costs, right? So we get a grant to put in steps for the paddler trail, and that's great. Didn't cost us anything to put it in. We have to replace it in 10 years. Where's that cost come from? Or do we just continue this perpetual circle of, well, now we have it and you have to chase money to fix it? No, things grow exponentially, not just 40 grand. There's no conversation about the actual cost.
I think that's something we would make like on a case by case basis, like maybe we would, the full-time CEDS, we would kind of gear them towards going after grants for improvements to buildings we already have, like to pay for things that aren't making more a loop, like you said. So that's kind of a non-issue to me, because we would be directing them to not do that.
So they wouldn't be employees of the committees, they'd be an employee here and we would direct them. I think that's
I think-
against a lot of the wishes out there.
Yeah, I don't think there should be any misconception here. If we hire a CEDS, they report to the select board.
No, that's not what as I understand, that's not what they're saying. They're saying a point person between us, because we aren't able to go to every committee meeting.
Yeah.
And just having better communication between committees and us, and having a person in between that can help them with funding and work towards projects they're going after. Who makes up committees? Our residents. I don't know, we're talking about them like they're outside entities that,
No,
aren't
I
part
don't,
of our
not
town.
at all. It's just.
not you.
The only
saying-
question is the hours here, really. I don't think anybody's arguing whether we need the person or the position. Doug?
What's not being mentioned is that like when Leah was here, the money that went to would be going to LCPC for management went to Leah. There might be some funds coming in on that. And, you know, I was at odds with Adrian over something that she proposed before was our committees and the organization of them. What I think is missing is, and I've thought it for a long time, is the ability of the select board to direct other than the light industrial park, the economic development of this community. And frankly, when I was on the planning commission, we hatched the idea of the light industrial park, you know, that came through and Leah wrote that there were grants and applications and stuff like that, and you picked it up. And you, as I mentioned, I don't think we need housing for these people. And what's missing is your ability to generate ideas and have someone close to you who you trust, that you can say, who can come to you and say, working with John, what is needed in this community? Is it housing? Is it more industry? Let's work on that. And you bring those ideas to the communities and say, this is where the select board would like to go. We're looking for direction. We're not looking to have to play in our sandbox by ourselves like we're doing now. Every liaison that I've ever seen has been notable only by their absence at our committee.
Doug, you mentioned twice about housing in the industrial park. Housing is secondary. It's not a primary thing. That industrial park, as far as I'm concerned, as long as I'm on board, is not going to be full of all housing. It was there for industry, not housing.
Of course, I understood that, and that's what I thought from the very beginning, but what we need is housing for people who want to work there. We'd like to have them in our community, and where are they gonna land right now?
No, I understand that, but
He's not suggesting in the industrial park. He's saying the people who are working there need housing in the community, not in the park. I think we're all.
well, one of your comments, the implication was housing within the industrial park.
Oh, I think it's maybe that's how you interpret it, and I expressed it badly. What I'm saying is that if you're gonna have an industrial park, you need to think about how you're getting housing for people in this community who will work at that industrial park.
Okay.
Here's some other people speak. Greg?
So is this in the budget for 24 hours? Or from this July till next July, that's when your year ends, right?
Correct,
So you got it in there for this year.
correct.
So I would recommend you keep it in for this year, and then if they do a good job, we'll bump up 40 next year, put it in your budget. I think one of the things that's saying here is the prices of everything are gonna go up substantially. You look at fuel right now, gasoline, to heat this building, to maintain all the stuff you have. This is gonna cost you more than you got in your budget, because nobody planned on this. I feel like construction right now, we didn't think we'd be buying fuel if I more than 50 cents a gallon. So you're gonna experience the same thing, your road crews, buildings, and so. It may not be a good year to add more to it right now, and I think. It's better to be a little cautious than it is to say, oh gosh, I should have done that, so. I agree with most of these people, I think they would pay for themselves in time. I'm just not sure it's the right time right now. I'd like to see how they do the first 24 hours for this year. If it's a success, let's bump them up. And who knows, they may get enough done in 24 hours. We don't know. So. My take on.
Thank you. Jesse?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, like, I don't. Funny enough, the next topic about grants related to Johnson Eats, but. That, the only reason that's brought up is not because we are demanding. That this person is gonna get grants for us. I think the idea is that if we had somebody full time, they would have more bandwidth to do things. Seek grants and seek money that is going to help the town bit. So I just want to clarify that, because it seems like that was a sticking point, but I wasn't making it for.
Okay, thank you. Eric?
Important to remember that a lot of these committees that are at work right now. What they're striving for is not just to make the town look better or whatever, but it's to make it more livable for the folks that are here, so they want to stay here, and so the families want to stay here. And so we can bring in money from outside of town too, so we're not just reliant on our property tax that we're all worried about, obviously. So like with the task force that I'm on for outdoor recreation and economic development, the goal is to use outdoor recreation, which we have a lot of really cool assets here in town. But the goal of it is to raise economic development, both internal and external. So all of that down the road works. So kind of comes down to you guys. I think it's how big a gamblers are you? You gonna put some money on the table now, hoping for a good return, or are you gonna say forget it? And I don't know, stay with the halftime with what I understand for demand right now for people that are good grant writers in Loyal County. I believe there's 3 openings right now, including the current down in Stowe that's offering big money and all kinds of stuff. You're gonna have a hard time getting a good person for 24 hours. You might get a retired person that could be really good, but the odds are you're gonna get somebody who's, wants to do a little bit, or a new person. And if they are good, they're gonna be gone. They're gonna get hired by one of these other crews. We'll have a hard enough time hanging on anyway, but seems to me that you either go all in or you say, forget it, we'll do it.
I'd like to make a motion.
Peter.
Oh, go ahead, make the motion.
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion that we go with option 1 budget of hiring a CDS at full time.
Is there a second?
I'll second to get it on the floor.
Okay, discussion.
So, two things. One is that I'm feeling a little dense. And I'm looking at the spreadsheet and I'm seeing 30,000 net increase. Why are we talking about 45?
Because it's net negative 14 over here. If you go to 24, it's minus 14%. So add the two together is 44 change.
Are we on the same?
Same spot in the other spreadsheet.
Okay.
So
Okay,
that's
all right,
the gap.
okay. I am extremely conflicted. One thing I would want to say, though, is that we are not talking about another $100,000 position. And I don't think we want folks to be going around talking about adding $100,000 position. We're adding a $45,000 expense, not 100,000. So we need to be clear about that. I think everybody has made really good points for and against. I think, Evan, your question about who replaces, where do we find the money to replace those steps in 10 years? Maybe in 10 years, we have some folks living in Johnson paying taxes in Johnson, and we have a industrial park that's paying taxes in Johnson. What's going to happen in 10 years? Who knows? I think anybody who points out what we're going to get for part-time money is right on it. As a part-time employee, I'm sorry, but it is. I don't think you're going to hire a 24-hour-a-week person who's necessarily going to be that person a year from now that you want to offer the full-time position to. I think you could be talking about two very different kind of individuals. I am really worried about this year, and a lot of it is because of what Greg just said about fuel. We don't even have a clue what we're looking forward to here, but it's not going to be good for anybody. I do think that we could say, let's go part-time for a year and let's come back to this a year from now. And I think we'd be having the same conversation a year from now and the year after that. I don't see that there's going to be a good time in Johnson to take this leap. But I think this leap could be really good for Johnson. So I'm going to change my mind again. And I'll vote in support of the motion. That's it.
We haven't voted yet, but thank you for.
Well, when the time comes, yeah. Can I vote twice?
Yeah, sure.
Now and
Early and often.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Of course you can.
Charles,
what you say?
Who's marketing you've done so far?
well, currently we're working on getting infrastructure in there, but
Well, point being is it?
then it would be pardon me?
Wouldn't this person be the lead?
This person in conjunction with John, yes.
And LADC and LCPC and hopefully
X, Y, and Z.
LCP or find another acronym, right? Hopefully everybody.
CBS, ABC.
Other discussion?
Question.
I do.
Go ahead.
But you mentioned that John could potentially do this and he was interested in Saturday, John.
He's smart.
Sorry, John.
Not a problem. You know, my opinion is I take the directive from the select board. You know, in Eagle Lake, I've done a lot of grant writing. And managed grants. You know, but I mean, it's gonna get to the select board as to what they decide is the best interest of the town.
Could I ask you, John, has it been an easy go at doing the Act 250 for the skate park so far?
It's been busy.
It's been
And I
busy.
think, you know, in my discussion, you know, my concern is, you know, the volume of work and letting the town administrator positions slip a little. I mean, I could pick up some, you know, if there was a part-time position and he or she needed some help, I could lend a hand. But ultimately, I work at the direction of the board.
What if we go to the voters first Tuesday in March and just ask for another 50 grand?
Good.
Keep it at 24.
And try to up it next year, put it in next year's budget before you.
Just throw it in as another article. We want to increase employee hours.
Greg,
I might be a little behind here. Are we thinking we're gonna hire a full-time grant writer for 40,000? Is that what I heard?
No.
No.
I was gonna say.
100,000.
I mean, we probably shouldn't say it out loud because whoever's looking to apply, what we carried in the budget was 72 grand. That's a roundabout figure with wages, benefits, social security, retirement.
and that's 24 hours a week,
That's 24 hours a week. So if you went,
24 all in, well, all the benefits and whatnot included.
yeah, so if you went to 40, it'd be 114, give or take.
Thanks for the clarification.
Lois,
Is Carl available through June 30th by any chance?
he's been remarkably adept at not saying when he's going to quit on us, but he's been very tolerant of continuing. So, is he listening? Yes, he is.
He's on there.
Boom. Pretty much he's indicated yes, but he is interested in optimizing. Carl, do you want to comment?
My latest was that I would see what's happening with the industrial park. If we get out to bid right away and open bids, let's say in very early June, and contractor says that they're planning to start right off, I would stay long enough to help the town through that construction work. But if the contractor advises that they're not planning to come in and start work until late August or September, or whatever, that would give the town time to find a new SEDS. So it would work with you to transition to your new regular SEDS. So it's a kind of a, let's see what happens. If you're ready to go, to seek applicants. Go ahead, and when you find somebody, just advise me how long you want me to stay or when you want me to be done. But I'll help you with these bigger projects until you have somebody else.
Well, that's really nice of you, Carl, and we just want to say thank you for that flexibility and for everything you've done so far. It's been an treat working with you.
Yeah. Carl's been a blessing to work with.
Yeah.
He's
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah.
Say call it.
So any further discussion, new points, comments people want to make?
Carl, do you think a CEDS could do it within 24 hours in the town of Johnson? You're an industry professional. You don't have to answer that if you don't want
No,
to.
you did.
Well, if it's too much on the spot, he doesn't have to answer
Well,
it.
yes, I think that 24 hours a week could be enough, but I think the first step is that the select board should work out the clear roles and duties of the different positions. And you should have a plan for what it is that you're going to try to accomplish through grants. If you approach this that you want to apply for every grant that becomes available, then 40 hours a week would be a lot. I mean, it would be short of hours for somebody to just keep seeking every grant and end up getting multiple grants, and some of them small amounts that maybe aren't addressing your real concerns. So I think you should set the roles and responsibilities of the different positions and then have a plan for what your priorities are, where you want to try to get to, and concentrate on those. And that would, I would say, allow you to work with 24 hours a week.
Thank you.
Charles?
Sorry, I came late. Didn't we have a meeting several meetings ago that we said that we'd go 24 with an option to increase to 30 within what we were offering at that time? Wasn't it like 3 weeks ago?
We've discussed this on several occasions, and the board originally voted when we did the budget to go with 24, and then we discussed 24, 30 and full-time on several occasions since then. We haven't decided on any kind of 24, then 30 progression that I'm aware of, but if we were to hire someone, we could certainly always extend their hours if they were willing and we wanted to. But this has certainly been discussed on a number of meetings. All right, we have a motion and a second. The motion on the floor is to hire a CEDS position at 40 hours a week. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, the nays have it.
I'll make a motion to stay with 24.
You want to make a motion to have a special meeting vote to increase
I'll
that?
make a motion to stay with 24-hour a week, and it sounds like we got some work to do with our priorities before we really post the position, but we probably should post it real quick.
Okay, I'll second that motion for discussion. Any comments? I think we've pretty well discussed so far. Yes, sir. Scott?
Any idea how many of these grants have a matching fund going against? A lot of times when you get a grant, you have to match the percentage of that to get your full grant now.
That's
We
part
don't-
of what I was talking about with the cost of money. I mean, you don't really know, right?
Yeah, we don't have grants specifically targeted at this point. We do have a grant matching fund that's in the budget, but that is certainly a consideration that if it's a substantial match, then we have to think about that as well. You're right.
With that tied in, I don't know, the hours that you're asking to seek grants for. I mean, it's easy, it's not easy, but you can the 40 hours is done deal now, but I get concerned when it's just, 40 hours, we get as many grants as you can get in, but if there's no matching fund, what's the point?
Well, I don't think anybody's saying just because they're here 40 hours a week, it's get as many grants as you can. I think what Carl said, it's what's been discussed before. We needed a plan for the development, and we need to go after specific grants for specific regions for projects that we want to do. It's not a matter of chase every shiny object. I think I would completely agree with you. That'd be shooting ourselves in the foot.
I ask the citizen, big match.
Currently, we have a little over 500,000, but most of that is dedicated to the industrial park. I think there's probably another maybe 150, 200 beyond, subtracted from that for available grants. Is that about right?
Not
No?
that much.
Not that much. So, okay, maybe more higher percentage than I was thinking is geared towards the industrial park. I don't know what the delta is or the non-industrial park monies. I could look that up and get it to you though.
It's a snapshot in time. It was like 19,000, but that was the halfway, like December 31st, wasn't it? We hadn't made our contributions for this year.
No, we had more than that.
Oh,
Okay.
there's like almost 600 grand in there, but a lot is reserved for the industrial park.
Yeah, but I thought it was like 100 grand, wasn't it, or something? But anyway, I don't know what that number is, sorry. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to hire a 24-hour CEDS position. We have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Abstain? None. Okay, the ayes have it. I guess I would just say thank you to everybody for their input, and I know this is sort of a bitter pill for some of us, and it's tough issue, which, as we heard, expressed very well tonight. So thanks to everybody. Okay.
Good night.
Next item, Johnson Eats fundraising, discussion and possible vote. Jesse, this one's for you.
Hello, Jesse Whitworth, co-chair of Johnson Eats. So we have had a good success from, basically since Reimagine Johnson. We've run 4 meals. We have another community meal coming up this month at the end of the month. And ultimately, we have gone to private donors for funding and received some from VCRD. I think we've had a lot of success with that funding, and we want to continue to pursue additional funding, both from private and grant sources. The process of getting approval for grants is not, I don't think, particularly onerous, but we were hoping that we could get some autonomy on the grants that we seek with a notice to the select board. The proposal would be that we would effectively have 2 tiers. Small grants under $10,000 that require no cash match, no debt, no construction obligation, no ownership obligation, and no long-term commitment by the town. That we'd follow an opt-out process where we could pursue the grant, let the select board know, and if they had a problem with it, they would tell us, and we would stop pursuing it. This is really just about timing and autonomy and allowing us to seek additional funds for our mission. Tier 2 would be larger than that, and then obviously anything with construction or debt or anything like that, obviously we'd go through the normal select board process of coming before you and asking for permission. So that's, in short, that is what we were looking for.
So just make sure I understand this correctly. What you're concerned about is a 2-week gap between meetings that you might want to chase a grant in the interim. Is that?
Gap between meetings, or, I mean, it's, it's all volunteers, people with busy lives. Sometimes we don't have anyone who can come or who can,
Yeah.
someone who can represent us. So the idea was to have just clear guidelines on what we could pursue within our mission. And I can tell you our mission if you would like. But to just make it simpler for us to pursue grant money.
What's the number right now?
Yeah, is it 2,500 right now?
I think it's 2,500, yes.
And
Although even with
that's
that,
limited you from applying for grants? date?
No, none, but we do have some identified that can be more than that. New England Grassroots Environmental Fund, Vermont Community Foundation, Vermont Food Bank. Like Ben and Jerry's is less than 2,500, but anyways, we've identified some, and we could follow the process of just coming in with a list and then getting blanket authorization. That sounds like how it's been happening. But this is the first time I'm coming in front of the board for Johnson Eats for this topic. And we would like a little latitude.
Is there any chance any grants you go after might overlap with another committee they might also go after? That's the only concern I can see with what you're suggesting. Otherwise, efficiency is good, and you certainly want to enable committees.
Are we picking favorites on committees?
I feel
Well,
like
we
it's
would have to
neat.
if we had a plan and a prioritization, and we would look at it. Yeah, but that's the only concern I guess I would have is that we don't want two committees going after the same money.
Mhm.
Well, or at least if we're going to do that, we want to decide that that's okay and let the chips fall where they may, kind of thing.
Sure.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think generally there's a large pool of money. There's often multiple applications from different towns, maybe even the same town. So, are you suggesting that, if two committees that are both town committees went after the same funds and only one won it, that would be a problem?
No, some grants you can only.
I'm just thinking out loud as to what are the possible hiccups. You're asking us to change procedure, so I'm trying to
Yeah.
kind of run it forward in my head and see what might.
Could
Yeah.
they get email permission from the CEDS before? And maybe the CDS would keep track of all grants that we're applying to, so they could be able to tell them if someone else is already applying for that in the town. That'd be something we should be recording anyway. Hopefully someone.
Someone brought it up now because I think we're adding a layer of complication, which is exactly what you're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Well, but with email verification, then no one would have to come
So-
to a meeting.
So the proposal is that we would notify the select board on tier 1. It's just, if it's less than 10,000, doesn't have ongoing costs, doesn't have matching, doesn't really affect the town finances at all. That's what we're asking for latitude on. We would still notify the select board and it would be an opt-out process as opposed to an opt-in.
And the town would still be the fiscal agent and so on and so forth.
Correct.
John has a comment.
One question I have would be,
Thanks.
for Rosemary and the treasurer, I mean, how do they keep track of, if we're going after multiple grants, you're almost gonna need a spreadsheet. What comes in, which bucket pays for it.
Well, you have to get the winning grant first.
Johnson Eats has already an account, and maybe you can speak to it, but we basically rolled over the pizza oven into our committee, so we brought all the funds in there. So it's an active account that has been managed by Charlotte for years now.
Yeah, we have one income line and one expense line.
Exactly. Okay.
Well, I think it's great. I think you guys have done a good job of what you've done so far. I think the idea to combine into Johnson Eats was a great idea. So you've shown lots of initiative and I'm in support.
I don't.
And just one member, so
Yeah, I don't see the problem in changing it. Unfortunately, I don't think you're gonna be limited. And even in, there's been plenty of scenarios in the past years where a committee wanted to go for a grant. Even at the minimum, below the minimum, they're supposed to let the town administrator know. I forget what motion that was. I don't think we actually made a formal policy. Probably should.
Maybe we should.
Right, you know, because you're asking for favoritism versus other committees right now, right?
So,
And I
mean, this could
don't
apply
think
to
it's
any
going to
committee.
limit you. And even if there is a deadline and hey, oh crap, we forgot. You can send an email to John. And John or the chair can just send an email to everybody that says hearing no objections by noon tomorrow. X is gonna apply, here's the details, and it can just be under our consent agenda, retroactive approval for blah, blah, blah grant. And that way, for the people that read our minutes, follow our agendas, they know things are happening. That will reduce a lot of post office questions about where'd you get the money for X.
So just to be clear, you're speaking in support of this idea or against?
They already have a minimum. Or they already have a maximum they can go to, every committee, just
Yeah.
fairly, nobody gets favoritism. They're supposed to notify the town administrator no matter what, and if it goes over that maximum, they're supposed to ask for a spot on the agenda, and if there's not enough time, we've done it in the past. Or the administrator or the chair has said, with no objections, we're gonna continue, and then it's just been a retroactive consent agenda. I don't see what's limiting committees right now.
I mean, possibly I was just unaware of the process. So
Maybe why we should have a policy.
yeah.
Oh,
It's not like in the procurement policy or anything.
I think we just made a motion
We just made a motion.
when our last town administrator
Yeah.
was here.
I remember that. I thought it went into something though.
Lois might know.
I was just gonna say, I don't believe that you told the committees about that policy.
Yeah.
We don't go to their meetings and they don't come to ours. How about that?
Lois comes to every meeting.
You were representing right now.
I guess we were not aware that the committees were not informed. I can look up the minutes if you want.
I'm
You probably
using it to 10,000 and making a policy for it.
just make a form policy then.
Yeah, I mean, if you know, if what I'm saying sounds reasonable and we maybe have a policy, maybe it's not clearly articulated and maybe not everyone knows about it, maybe that is sufficient.
Should there be even any cap if there's no match required and it's not like a construction project or like, I don't know.
Yeah, there should, because in my opinion, we take 100% of the liability again. So if they got they being Johnson Eats or any committee. You know, if there was $100,000 grant, and you're like, there's no way you're gonna spend that.
Right.
I would be like, you should scale back and do something realistic because we're gonna be holding the money and be liable for it.
Are you
And
guys a reserve fund yet?
Hmm?
Are you guys a reserve fund yet?
Do we have
no.
money in reserves?
Carry over.
Just so you know, like money you raise will roll back into the budget at the end of the year if you have a surplus.
Right. Yeah, we did a carryover last year.
But if you create a petition to become a reserve fund, then it rolls over.
I would have to talk to Charlotte as
Just
to
to let you
whether or
know.
not we have that right now, or if
Yeah, because
you know.
none of your money, it's all by donations and grants, it goes
Yep.
on taxpayer money.
Correct.
It's always spent.
Well, we continue to collect and spend it, yeah. Big recurring cost is the pizza nights, but luckily we found partners in the GMTCC where they're actually preparing food with their students to feed our town, which is a very low cost to us. They actually take on most of the cost. So anyways, we're always looking for ways to expand our options. And that's why I'm here today. So I don't know what you want to do, but I think it is reasonable to possibly raise the amount or just make it really clear to all the committees exactly what they can do.
Sounds like we need to do the latter, regardless of whether we do the former. But Diana, comment.
As you're establishing the policies, I would request politely that you clarify the difference between a committee and a task force. In terms of what you're willing to oversee and what you're not willing to oversee. And I understand the money goes through the treasurer in any case. But giving people some access to that process and preventing other groups from having access to that process needs to be clarified in policy rather than handled case by case.
Agreed completely. Thank you.
The other thing I would observe is that more and more communities, as these community service organizations are getting a life of their own above and beyond the select board, that if there's no taxpayer money involved, an alternate model would be to no longer be a committee of the select board and consider becoming something like a community trust, like the Civic Standard in Hartford, like the Elmore Store in Elmore. And the one way that towns are dealing with this of like almost overgrowth of the select board and the responsibilities into areas that don't involve taxpayer dollars is to actually like decouple those organizations from the select board structure and start more like nonprofits, more community trusts. And it makes your job easier, which is kind of my theme for the night of how to make less work for the select board rather than more. As these situations become more and more complicated, you can continue to address and readdress them year in, year out, or you could look at alternate models.
Yep. Good points. Thank you. Okay, so we have a request from a committee. Do I hear a motion from the board to support the request or to not support it and just clarify the policy? That's kind of where we are.
The latter.
Should be a policy probably.
Yeah.
Would you care to make a motion? That's more than 2 words.
I make a motion that we add it on some town employees' plate.
Anyone?
To look up what the previous board did and maybe a draft policy from the LCD and we get it on a work session meeting. In terms of committee grant applications.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? All those abstain? Okay, the ayes have it. So we'll get back to you.
That's perfect.
Thank
So
you.
much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Jesse. Thanks. All right, we are all the way up to item 10. We're only 12 minutes behind schedule, so there you go. Discussion on Act 181. Just briefly, by way of introduction to this topic, Act 181 is the revision of Act 250, the land use law that the legislature passed in 2024, basically making several different tiers. And I'm just going to read to you from something from the State of Vermont Land Use Review Board, dated 4/14/2026. It says, update. The legislature has indicated that Tier 3 and road construction jurisdiction will be repealed, and the board has suspended work on these elements at this time. I spoke to Dan Noyes. He indicated that passed out of their committee unanimously, that the House is passing it over to the Senate. The Senate Pro Tems indicated to him that their intention is to just agree with what the House puts out and send it on to the governor for signature. So we'd still have Tier 1A and B, but it wouldn't have Tier 2, it wouldn't have Tier 3, wouldn't have the roads issue. I'm not an expert on this act by any means, but I've got a lot of information if anybody wants to look at it. I did talk to Brian Noyes at length about it, and he seemed very confident about the repeal process. It's never done until it's done, but that's the way it looks like it's heading. So with that in mind, there was a request from a board member to write a letter in opposition to Act 181, which a lot of towns have done. My understanding is the principal objection has been to Tier 3 and the roads element, which looks like they're going to be repealed, but there's still nothing wrong if there's a concern among the board or the public. There's nothing wrong with us sending a letter into the governor or our representatives stating our position to that effect.
It's good.
Tori, do you have anything to add in terms of clarification of my brief update there?
In our letter specifically, we should ask that they
Yeah.
answer us on 1B,
Yes,
if form-based code actually works.
I've asked Seth that question and he has said it's yet to be determined. So we could certainly ask.
that's certainly state overreach by all means.
The tier 3 inroads you're referring to specifically?
The 1B, the part about zoning for the purpose of tier 1B, still an open question. Whether or not our form-based code complies with that. And if it doesn't, we have to have some basic subdivision standards.
Well, we have to have some division standards regardless.
Right, but I mean,
If we
that's
want them.
still state overreach, part of that whole thing. Part of that concern. They're still trying to dictate what towns do.
Yeah. So the difference between 1A and B, A is harder to get and it basically frees you from Act 250 review entirely within the land use areas the town is mapped with their planning commission. 1B exempts housing units of 50 units or less, again, in those areas that are mapped. But to qualify for either one of those, you do have to have zoning that the state approves of, and you do have to have subdivision requirements, which we currently don't have. So either way, we have some hoops to jump through to get into those. But that's kind of where we stand. I don't know if this needs further discussion. If the board wants to vote on writing a letter, so I'm put it on the agenda because of that request.
It's my
Yes.
opinion that usually the select board stays pretty neutral for state like acts. At least we have in the past for different topics that other select board members dislike.
Okay.
So I don't know, are we gonna break that now to not be in support of something? Because if that's the case, then that'll start being something that'll be brought up more and more in our meetings.
Well, I tell you, I
Okay.
think the majority of people in this community do not want zoning. And we've been down this road numerous times in the 42 years I've been in this town. And when you have more state overreach, basically trying to force us into some type of zoning, I think the select board needs to make some kind of statement that we do not support this stuff. I don't think it's picking and choosing, and I don't. And I kind of disagree with you. I think this doesn't quite fit what you're talking about. This really is an important issue. We remember the difficulty with form-based code. And then everybody thought that was just a form of zoning that was being shoved into the community through the back door. So, and then we've got to maybe jump through all these other hoops. I don't think we need Act 181 at all.
Well, I'm not sure I'd agree that everybody thinks we don't need zoning because form-based code passed in town vote.
True. But I think.
So I think,
If you took a vote for full zoning in the town of Johnson, I think it would fail again.
possibly. Other comments from the board? Charles?
Our village, the downtown looks, is going to be extremely important more and more over time. We've lost how much in water revenue, sewer revenue, electricity revenue because of college. Like it or not, the RARC is here and we are trying to gain traction through bringing in people through recreation. Wasn't too long ago on the corner of 15 and Railroad Street, that was almost like a junkyard. And quite frankly, if it's a vote of zoning to make sure maybe something like that doesn't happen, or no zoning and letting it a free for all, then I welcome that vote. There was a discussion at some point, and I believe that Duncan had said something about it within regards to the industrial park years ago when this first started, about however many years ago that was, that there was nothing inside of the everything that was written about the industrial park, that it was limited to industry, that there could be housing there. And maybe this. In regards to Act 181, and I'm not totally in favor of it, but that might have some implications with regards to what can be built there. And how we need to get through.
Greg,
I haven't seen the map for Johnson. Are we at 1A or B or any here?
well, it hasn't passed yet, so nobody's in any of them yet, but 1A you have to apply for, and 1B is easier to get in, but again, presently we don't qualify, so we're not in either one.
So I think there's a map out that designates the areas that could or couldn't be. And I haven't seen it for Johnson. I've seen it for Jericho, but not Johnson. So
Yeah, LCPC.
they get rid of the rest of it. They may not touch us anyway, but we should know if we're, you know, if we're in that 1A or 1B situation. And like I know 1B, they say 50 housing units, but it has to be on a parcel less than 10 acres. So if you've got 10.2 acres, then you don't exempt them out 250. So that would be a good thing if we could figure out if we are designated one of those areas. And I don't know, I haven't looked at them up. So I guess that's a question more than anything.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to say too much because I'm not an expert and I don't want to present this as I know everything about this bill because I certainly don't. Tori, are you able to comment on the land use maps that LCPC made and presented to the town a year or so ago?
I don't have anything to add. Other staff are the lead on this topic. I think Paul, as you summarized earlier, made sense.
Okay, sorry to put you on the spot. Thank you. Yeah, so there are maps that map out development areas, infill areas. We currently have the town center designation and all that. But my understanding is we're not in A or B right now. You'd have to apply to be in either one. And right now we don't qualify. Charlie?
The entire industrial park is subject to Act 250, so this doesn't. 181 doesn't apply to the industrial park. I think if you write a letter, you want to reference S325. That's what they're voting on. Act 181 is like Act 250. It's not really something they vote on S325, which is the repeal of the road rule and the tier 2-3.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what Dan sent me the summary of. That's exactly right.
That seems to be, I mean, most people issue with it, especially in rural communities. It doesn't make sense.
And it appears there's pretty strong sentiment in the legislature to repeal those with or without our.
Well, to that point, pushback is important. And I think if the select board thinks that the people they represent would be affected by this and that they would be against it going, wanting them going through as is, then, you know, writing a letter makes a lot of sense to me.
Suggest, at least I don't feel like I know enough about 1A and 1B to take a position tonight relative to the legislature.
Okay.
And I would just suggest we let nature take its course in terms of the other parts that are sure to be repealed. I don't think we need to rush and write a letter tonight.
Not even for tier 3 and the road rule?
No, that's dead.
We think it's dead, but it's not dead till it's dead. It's not dead till it's dead.
Well, like
about half the state of Vermont select boards have already sent some kind of a letter to the governor in opposition to 181 with the road rule, tier 3 road rule. I don't see why Johnson can't do the same thing.
Yeah.
So my personal thought is that I agree with Mike. I think we could write a letter specific to tier 3 and the road rule and even tier 2. I think 1A and 1B are actually pretty good regulations, would help avoid some Act 250 review, but I would stop there and just comment on tier 3 and the road rule. If the board wants to do that, I'm happy to work on it. If the board doesn't want to do that, then so be it. It does appear that those are dead, but it ain't over till it's over.
Adrian,
Hmm.
were you just saying that the board should not send a letter from the whole board? Basically,
I just feel that historically, since I've been on the board, I don't know if it's because board members aren't in favor of positions I have brought up and other people have brought up, but we have said we don't get involved with federal issues or state issues in that way. So I think it's kind of hypocrisy to now all of a sudden go after something.
But that situation affects everybody in this town. If anybody has got a piece of property, you know, my house.
I brought up before affected everyone in the town.
What was it specific that you brought
The
up?
resolution I brought up before.
Which one?
What's it called, Diana?
The due process.
The due process resolution. That affected everybody in the town.
so without going down the rabbit hole, and you guys can if you want, that is what I was thinking about. And I tend to agree with you that we can individually write letters to our representatives as citizens. We all pay taxes, right?
Yeah.
But the town taking a stance is a precedent that typically we have not. And we have been asked by other towns to condemn the president.
Well, that's fine with
Yeah,
me if we don't do
parties.
it, to tell you the truth. So the next time a TDS thing comes up, then we're not gonna support it. So that's fine with me too.
The TBS thing.
Yeah, I don't,
Okay.
it's an acronym.
Any further discussion? I'm really glad I put this on the agenda tonight.
If
Okay,
you could share the letter that Dan has, I'll send it individually, just as a citizen.
I will send the information I have around. If anybody else wants it, send me an email. So I'm going to suggest that the board does not write one, given the sentiments we've heard expressed. And if everybody wants to write one individually, we could do one as a collection of individuals or individually, but not representing the select board. Does that work for everybody?
That works for me.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we inserted a new and added agenda item here. And this has to do with getting designation of our town gravel pit as a categorical solid waste facility, which means we can accept I forget what the word is, Tori, so you're gonna have to bail me out here, but accept waste, basically remediation efforts elsewhere in town that aren't classified as high hazardous, so we can dispose of them in our own town pit with no cost, and or dispose of solids from other towns at a fee and make money on it. Seth, you have much more information than I do. Fire away.
I'm actually going to let Tori and do the introduction because she's been prepping. I just came out of a meeting from Wolcott, and Lee from Weston and Sampson is also here to provide backup technical answers.
Great, thank you.
And thank you for making time on your busy agenda tonight to hear more about this opportunity to seek permitting the town gravel pit as the categorical solid waste facility. At the very end of last week, Seth Jensen provided a memo with information about the potential process around this and seeking this designation to help reduce the cost of complying with Vermont's soil management rules around managing soil for future projects. Just as a bit of brief background, as you're all very familiar with, the Holmes Meadow Floodplain Restoration Project is underway and will be wrapping up this spring. That property is within the mapped urban background area, which is understood to contain what's called development soils often, as that was the phrase, Paul, that was escaping you earlier. These types of soils are subject to additional testing and management rules and need to be handled and moved around in certain approved places. The soils from Holmes Meadow were managed in this way by developing a soil management plan with the support of Weston and Sampson, and testing the soil to ultimately seek approval to deposit it at the town gravel pit. All of this work was made possible and funded by the State Flood Resilient Communities Fund, the state ARPA grant that the town currently has to complete the Holmes Meadow project, but this type of funding is not going to be as readily available for future projects. So this opportunity to pursue a categorical solid waste facility approval became apparent to us through the course of this project, and we just wanted to share more information about it so that the town could consider seeking this designation to help handle development soils in future infrastructure and flood mitigation projects with more predictability and reduced costs on the town. Lee Rosberg from Weston and Sampson is also here and can speak more about what a categorical solid waste facility is, what types of soils it can receive, and the process for permitting the town gravel pit as this type of facility.
Sure. Thanks, Tori, and thanks again for inserting us into the agenda kind of last minute. So as Tori mentioned, development soils is kind of a problem that plagues a lot of projects, whether it be any type of redevelopment in a downtown area. There's soils that contain specific contaminants that are known as PAHs, lead and arsenic. They're often from historical fill, from historical discharge from automobiles, smokestacks, etc. The state of Vermont has a limited number of options for managing these types of soils. Right now, the main option is to truck it to Coventry and use it as daily cover in the landfill, and that can be quite costly, both in transportation fees and disposal fees. Other options are to cap in place. When we're talking about flood mitigation projects that Johnson's working on, that's not really an option because you're trying to remove the soil, not add more to it. And then another option is finding a receiving site. So that's finding another area within your urban background area to place some of the soils. And we use that strategy a little bit at Holmes Meadow with the library project to infill some areas there. So the categorical disposal facilities are a little bit more robust. They're permitted through the solid waste program with the state, and you're able to accept different types of soils. You can get a permit just for development soils. You can add on things like street sweeping, ditchings, asphalt from a road project, clean concrete, those types of things that you might already be managing at your gravel pit. To get a permit for these, there's back up a little bit. There's only one categorical disposal facility in the entire state that's permitted to accept development soils. That was recently permitted in St. Albans. It's called Hardack. The director of planning and development in the town of St. Albans is Chip Sawyer. He'd probably be a very good resource for the town to reach out to and ask about how that process went. But essentially, there's a three-part process. There's a desktop review to look at the geology, hydrogeology, and area mapping to make sure that the site meets setback requirements from things like property boundaries, surface water, depth to bedrock, surface water protection areas, all those types of sensitive receptors that could be impacted by putting slightly contaminated soil in an area. So once that's done and it's determined, that your site is appropriate for a categorical disposal facility. There's field testing that is soil, it's installing soil borings, installing monitoring wells, actually testing the soils for those contaminants, PAHs, lead and arsenic. Same with groundwater, determining the direction of groundwater flow, depth of groundwater, and using that data to further vet the site's appropriateness for a categorical disposal facility. The third step would be the application, and that's just a 2-page application with the meat of it is the appendices that would include the report from field testing, a facility management plan, and a closure plan. The fee for the application is $100. The facility management plan would include things like the testing required for soils that are coming to be disposed of. It would include how much material can be disposed of, how it's reported, those types of things. There's a requirement for annual grading and covering the surface for the winter, or if there's going to be a lapse in management. And then the closure plan is how you're going to finish off once the facility is full, which it's generally capping with an 18-inch clean soil cap. You could do something like put solar development on top of it if you want to. So that's kind of the 30,000-foot view of the application process. There's obviously a lot more detail, so to be interactive, feel free to fire questions away.
Well, thank you all very much for that summary. It was very complete. I think the big ticket item probably everybody's wondering what's the cost. And I understand from talking to Seth and Tori that all of the costs, the desktop review, the field testing, which is ballparked at somewhere in the 25 grand range, and the report that has to go along with the application, that all those costs are covered within the existing ARPA grant that we currently have. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. The other thing, I guess, from your information that you sent, Seth, is basically time's of the essence. That ARPA monies have to be spent by the end of May 2026. So we don't really have to do anything other than say, yeah, sure, go ahead and start the tabletop, which if it doesn't get past that, then I guess we're done anyway. But it seems like waiting another 2 weeks to bless you to go forward with the next step doesn't really make sense. It seems it would be advantageous for us either to say, do the test tabletop and we'll meet and discuss and maybe have a vote next week on the second step, or should we just go ahead and approve that tonight? As there's no cost to the town, and this seems like an obvious benefit for us to be able to dispose of our own soils at no charge because we don't have to pay somebody else to take them or to charge other towns and make money on it. I don't see a downside for the town pursuing this. Am I oversimplifying that in any way, Seth or Tori? Or
I would say in terms of the timeline, time of the essence is of the essence for doing the tabletop and initiating the testing. If you feel you need more time to deliberate on whether or not to submit the application once you have the results of the tabletop and testing, there's not really a timeline clock ticking on that. You could, so I just want to make sure that it's clear what the ask it for tonight would be is authorizing doing that tabletop and testing, and not submitting the application, because we would want to, review the results of that application with you before it goes in. But your question on is time of the essence and the ARPA grant, it is tied to that end of May deadline to do, expending the funds for the analysis.
okay, thank you. Scott?
Yeah, I have a quick question. You had mentioned lead, arsenic, PAH is the trio that you're worried about. What about other contaminants that may be found in the soils? Especially the PFAS issue, which is sort of hit the southern part of the state pretty hard. And if it's from an industrial site that deems sort of clean, you would have, potentially hexavalent bromine, which is a carcinogen or a tribe, either of those two. I mean, where do you with this spectrum of testing? What's the liability to the town if things go south?
Seth, can you hear Scott okay?
I think I did hear that. I think, and I'm going to turn it to Lee, but I think Scott's question was beyond PAH is lead, arsenic, other contaminants like PFAS, other industrial contaminants, whether those can be managed at a categorical site or what controls or protections there are from the town against those. Is that an accurate representation of your question, Scott?
Yes, absolutely.
So I'll let Lee address that.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of bugaboos out there and that can show up in odd places like PFAS. So that one of the keys is the facility management plan and having a robust testing requirement for anything that would be accepted. Where it's been successful is modeling off of what other solid waste facilities require for testing. So if you're going to ship soil to Coventry or any other Subtitle D landfills, they're going to require volatile analysis, petroleum analysis, semi-volatiles, PCBs, the acronyms go on and on. So there's a robust testing schedule. There's an obligation for the town to review that and understand what they're looking at. So there's a risk there. And having the right person and people review that is important as well. And the facility would have to be managed by the town. So that you'd have to be willing to take on reporting requirements and maintenance requirements. So you have to have a fence around the yard, you have to restrict access, you have to do quarterly reporting of a summary of what you've accepted with all those analytical reports that you've received and reviewed have to be reported to the state solid waste program. And again, the annual cover is a cost as well.
Lee, could I just follow-up question to just make sure it's clear? The management plan for the pit could, for example, say that you will not accept soils with certain contaminants like PFAS, if that's the direct what the town wants to structure the rules as, correct?
And these are the presence of these chemicals, the development soils. It's at levels that are not considered hazardous currently under state regulations. Is that correct? The present, but not above prescribed limits.
They can be above soil screening value, but they can't reach the level of hazardous waste.
Okay, thank you. Diana.
Question, have we got the administrative capabilities of monitoring a solid waste site for eternity? Seems like it could be more onerous than a set of stone steps in 10 years.
Possibly.
I say we move forward with the tabletop and exercise 2 and review before we submit the application. Because if nothing else, we could have our own site for future projects and save taxpayers money. We don't need to make money because we're the government. We don't make money. We provide services.
Aren't you the one who was talking about increasing revenue?
Huh?
To try to make a little money once in a while.
It would be great. I won't tell you where that quote came from, but that's the difference between private and public sector.
Ask a question since I interrupted.
Please.
I'm going to ask Lee. Lee, it's Greg. How are you?
Hey, Greg. Good.
See,
Was that your question?
all this thing you're talking about, how much are these tests? What, I mean, it's probably the person bringing it in would do the testing, so the town wouldn't have to pay the tax.
Yeah, the testing would be required by the applicant who's trying to bring the soil to your facility. The individual soil tests cost about $1,500 for that full suite of analyses, so they are quite expensive, but that burden would be on the person bringing the soil to you.
And we're talking about urban soils that are designated by the state, correct?
Correct. And if they're coming from a managed site by the Vermont Department of Environmental Conservation, there will be a soil management plan or a corrective action plan that's prepared in accordance with what's called the Investigation and Remediation of Contaminated Properties Rule. It's the environmental law. And that would have review by the site management section and approval and sign off before those soils could come.
And the cover for winter, is that just mulch and winter rye, or is it topsoil and then throw it up again or whatever? But I'm wondering about the winter cover, is it just like seeding and mulching?
It's less of winter than actually a lapse of active stockpiling for a 2-month period. And it's a 12-inch soil cap, so it's much more robust than just seeding and mulching.
That's every winter, or is it at the end of the project?
It could be in, say you have one big project that happens, it's the end of that project, and then you get another project and you have to cover it again. It's two months.
Sounds like a man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like we need to get ourselves into something else.
Well, I think Evan's suggestion was that we proceed with the tabletop and the testing, so we get a characterization of our own pit, and then we can decide whether we want to go any further than that or not.
That's fine. It's just a make work project for somebody, so they can get some grant money. Go ahead.
Thank you for putting it bluntly.
Okay.
I
Yeah, Scott, go ahead.
So on the potential contamination of the soil, wide spectrum, the one word that usually is pulled out of PEC, given to ag, is pesticide residual in these soils. Is that tested? Because now you're talking a little bit more cost for soil analysis. I'm just concerned because there's so much stuff that has been showing up in Vermont that was deemed not a big deal, that is now a very big deal. And you're working with the town select board. Does anybody have chemistry for a degree?
Biology.
So our resources are really limited for managing a site like this. You know, probably, maybe nothing will happen, but there's a lot of stuff that's coming out. There's a think tank that Governor Scott put together probably 5 or 6 years ago, dealing with chemicals of concern. And I was part of that panel, and it was sort of enlightening to see the amount of new chemicals and mold chemicals that were being sort of, you know, unearthed, and the health impact that was happening to some of the people in Vermont. And without a core group of people that sort of know the science, run a site like this is a little spooky for a small town.
Absolutely.
That's my thought.
Thank you very much, Scott. I appreciate that.
Seth and company, question for you guys. If we went forward with this and only accepted our own soils, all the same stipulations would apply in terms of annual cover, end of project cover, et cetera? Is that true or not true?
Yes.
Yep. That would be true.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, yeah, the stipulations would be true. I think in terms of developing, grant contracts and budgets for those, rather than building in, hauling costs to take the soils from, say Westcombe Road to Coventry, some of the costs of the testing and cover and management at the pit could be built in there, and likely still result in a lower total project cost than if the soils had to go to Coventry. But you could certainly, I think, and Lee, correct me if I'm wrong, the St. Albans example is initially limited to projects in St. Albans. So in that case, you'd be moving soils that are largely in areas such as the village where there's already contact with people to an area that's now more secure than the soils from their kind of parent site.
But we would still have to do all the quarterly reports and so on and so forth.
Yes, the quarterly reports, I think the capital costs, like the cover, would be grant eligible. The quarterly reports and such would be would be an ongoing operating cost.
Greg?
Is it different for like just stumps and for cleaning out ditches, or soil that isn't impacted by the urban soils? So like we tested urban soil and maybe 6 inches deep or a foot deep, it's got to go to Coventry. But if the rest of it's clean, is that a whole different? That's a different permit, isn't it? That much easier and less risk to our water and our plants.
So there's different types of categorical disposal facilities. The permit requirements for the development soils has a lot more, I guess, risk and more robust testing requirements for what you're bringing in. If you were just wanting to permit it for street sweepings and asphalt, then you wouldn't have as many of these requirements.
We're going to be cutting out these flood plains. Usually it's the first few inches or a foot that's contaminated. Then after that, we can bring it over here, maybe even reuse it. It's good material. But you still need a permit to dump. Well, I guess you're supposed to have. I don't know if we do. If you do both to have. So that would be an option, I think, rather than taking all this dirty dirt from Burlington and wherever, or even here, get rid of it at the landfill and be done with it. Because it's cradle to grave, I believe, right? Yeah. So that puts us at a long exposure. By regular old dirt, we can keep it in town and bring it over there and use it. I think it makes sense to permit this for that type of dump site.
And to do that, that's an entirely separate process. We would effectively not pursue what's in front of us tonight. Is that accurate, Seth?
I'll turn that to Lee. Sort of, is that a secondary option?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different tiers of soil and soil classifications. And in any of these projects, like a flood mitigation project similar to Home Meadows, Greg's right. The upper 18 inches is what's typically going to be contaminated and need to be managed. What gets tricky is the pHs and the Vermont soil standards for pHs. You can have an exceedance of a residential standard very easily. And I think at Holmes Meadow, if we didn't have the pit and maybe Seth can help me here, but if we didn't have the pit for disposal and all that had to go to Coventry, it would have increased the project cost by well over $1 million, and it probably wouldn't have happened. So it's the soil regulations in Vermont are tricky, and moving anything out of an urban background area has limitations. This is just one option to make maybe some of these projects happen. one of the other soil management options that we kind of pursued with Holmes Meadow and started with is an insignificant waste management event. It's a one-time option to bring development soils to one place and cap it once and be done with it. But once you can only do it one time. It's a one project and you're done. So if you were to use the pit for that, then that's it.
Well, there's mud. Jesse?
So just talking about revenue earlier, but I mean, how much revenue are we talking about? Potential revenue for opening this up to other towns?
I have no idea. And based on what I've heard tonight, I would suggest that's probably not a path we'd follow, but can anybody comment on possible revenues?
Yeah, so you can set the tipping fee per ton or cubic yard of soil to whatever you want it to be. So right now, daily cover at Coventry is $50 a ton. You could set it at 35, 25. It depends on the capacity.
Would you go that way for?
Yeah, we're going the other way.
No.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Diana?
I wonder if this is an opportunity to involve a privately owned property in helping us solve our problem, because obviously we don't want to spend $1 million to send our dirt to Coventry. For example, in addition to our town gravel pit, we have common gravel pit out at that edge of town that's not currently producing gravel. And the people who own it are using it as a dumping ground anyway for asphalt and other debris and solid waste. Maybe they'd be willing to take our town dirt too. And it would cost a lot less than $1 million.
I think $1 million is a worst case scenario.
I think we need,
It might ease our burden as a town to have some private oversight of the solid waste management for eternity.
Yep, that's a good thought. It seems like we could debate this all night, so I'm going to suggest we move on.
Do it.
The question at hand is, do we authorize LCDC to proceed with step one, which is the desktop review? And if they get past that, then subsequent field testing of the soils in our pit, neither of which will cost the town anything. That's the question at hand.
so moved.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Just
All those in favor,
$50
please say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Nay.
The ayes have it. Thank you for your time. This is a lot more convoluted than I think it first appeared, and obviously we're gonna have to give it some more thought as we go forward.
Make work
So-
checks for somebody.
Seth, Dory, Lee, thank you very much.
In the future.
Thank you.
All right, our next item, and we're now 40 minutes behind, so I'll try to pick it up. Define the CEDS role in grant support for individual businesses and entities. Discussion. It's not on here as a vote action, but just a discussion item. And I put this on because in one of our recent meetings, it came to light that a business in town had asked Carl to help them pursue grants for their property improvement. And I thought it behooved the select board to discuss at what point do we approve or not approve the CEDS position or a town administrator to help an individual business with grants. Obviously, we want businesses to survive and thrive, so we want to support them. But we also have limited resources that we want to put towards town designated priorities. So I'm just a little concerned that if we go into something like that, we do it with our eyes open. And that's the reason for the discussion.
I agree with your email talking about a slippery slope.
That was probably better phrased than what I just said.
Yes, and I think it's right to the point too. It's a slippery slope and we probably ought not be involved.
Well, I think we could have a policy around it so that we have clear. Yes, this is something that is helping the public and community good. And not just supporting a business, like have some rules around it so that we're not just doing a favor for this person or that, or, making it up as we go along and have some clear boundaries for it.
That's kind of where I started too, but then I started thinking about how you would actually write that.
I think other towns have that, so I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'd be happy to take a look at it. That was my concern, that we just have some basis for making decisions and not whatever comes up at the time. Charles?
So it says business is an entity, and so we as Discover Johnson, were deeply involved in a lot of stuff that's going on right now. We would not even be in existence if it wasn't for Rand Zott. And he was the one who came forward and urged us and sent us on our way looking for certain grants. He didn't have to find them, but it was within the purview of community development. My suggestion, so it's not necessarily businesses, but other profits. My suggestion would be that you just write it into the language of the job saying prioritizes business, town business. And when applicable, if time allows, you may, help in certain respects. Couch language, saying how that.
Entities was specifically because of you guys, just to make sure we were addressing it fully. That was the intent. Exactly right. Yeah, exactly.
Were you helped with the application or were you just pointed in a direction?
Just to conversation.
Yeah. Hey, I saw this grant program come up, thought of you guys. Email sent, done.
The similar organization in Newport so that we get to know the types of organizations that are around. Baby steps.
So you weren't asked for assistance
We didn't ask.
to help the
Help because our police from FEMA was really trying to help the town a lot, and he made introductions led to conversation led to this, but nobody ever gave us actual help other than the time of day and introduction.
Yeah,
That is a form of community development.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Are you talking about private business, say, if somebody has storefront on Main Street, wants to raise some money for improving the buildings, so.
Exactly. Or paving their parking lot or their underground storage tank or whatever the case may be.
Johnson, anything that's going toward town property is different from a private property owner being paid by the tax dollar, which is where the economic development person gets paid. Is that right?
I'm not 100% sure I'm following you. Yes, the question at hand was, should we authorize Carl, for example, to help a business find grants and get a grant to, let's say, paid parking area?
Okay,
On
so
one-
his salary is being paid by the town. And he is spending his time looking for a private property. As opposed
Business.
to, say, working for an education. There's a big difference there.
Hence the reason it's on the agenda. Yes, there's a big difference there.
But making the parking lot better would help the beautification committee.
I guess I'm surprised it's even on the agenda. But
Well, it's a real, it came up as an issue, and so we need to figure out how to address it. Charlie?
Beautification.
that's the other way. That's the other one.
Touche.
They take town money
And they give it to, or they give it, sometimes they give it to constructors. But they give it to private individuals to do whatever they want, whatever they've submitted they're gonna do. So it's the same thing. They get town money for private purposes. And that's what I thought the board should be aware of and address, because obviously, like I said, we do want businesses to succeed. We want to try to support businesses. However, the town also has its own priorities that we want our resources directed to. Charles?
Now, wasn't there, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike Mignon, did he come to me with the town or the village requesting help in the same regards?
Why do you ask? Yes.
Because he's a food desert. He's a private business, and without him, it'd still be a food desert.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, well, that's exactly, that's the example at hand. And like I said, we obviously all want to see them succeed. We want to support that business. Does that mean we want the CEDS working for their capital improvements as opposed to working on something else?
There'd be a grant or necessarily a for-profit company in the capital movement. Do you think that
That was the ask. So that was the intent, as I understood it, at least.
For this, for the general store, this particular situation, it's more for supporting food access than like the private business in my eyes.
You said the net effect would be more.
Huh?
I mean, this isn't the payment system. This is a completely separate issue. What are you saying? The benefit would be food access as opposed to, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly true.
I
If you handle this more, if you put in the correct wording and handle this on a case by case basis.
We could. I just want to make sure it was part of a public discussion because I think it is a bit of a slippery slope, and the risk of case by case is then you get really subjective. And we like this project, we don't like that project, and that gets ugly fast.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest thing would be defining clear town benefit. We have worked with other large employers in this town on large grants. But there was always a very clear and defined town benefit. If you drive past the co-op's parking lot, that was federal money that the town worked in a public-private partnership for.
Which part?
The co-ops, their stormwater infrastructure. Which
Everybody here-
you would say why?
There you go.
Okay.
I'm sure-
And why would we do that? We maintain rights to hook that in for some of the stormwater for the industrial park. So there was a very clear and defined benefit, as well as them being a very large employer in this town.
Did you say that you think you've seen some wording from other towns that have?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there are like some policies out there from towns about funding for businesses and entities that we can pull from and make our own policy for.
Mr. Chairman, why don't we do that instead of continuing to beat this dead horse?
Took words right out of my mouth. I should suggest we table this for future consideration. But thank you all for the input.
Put it on old business.
Yeah.
It's a no for now. Right? We owe that.
Is that a motion?
For this particular,
Motion to point in the right direction and move on.
Yeah, let's just table it for now and we'll talk to Mike. Any other comments? Everybody okay with that? Okay. Okay, next item, additional funds for updated monthly contract, review and possible vote. John?
Yeah, I was talking to Carl, and he informed me that he's working with Mumbly Engineering on the industrial park. When they first put their application together for Northern Borders, which was in 2023, part of the work order was Mumbly would provide a cost estimate. Now here we are, going on 3 years later, Northern Borders has asked for an updated cost estimate. which is beyond the scope of work that Mumbly has. So Carl's been working with Luke Willie, and Mumbly is asking for $1,000 to do an updated cost estimate, which is beyond their original scope of work.
Which I would think seems fairly reasonable. And certainly having an updated cost structure would benefit all of us because we need to know what we're getting into. Comments?
Everybody's always asking for more money, aren't they?
Nobody's asking for less. That's for darn sure.
I'd like to make a motion.
Peter,
I would like to move that we grant Mumley an additional $1,000 to
generate the updated cost estimate.
to meet the request of the NBRC.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Why wasn't the other stuff good enough?
It's several years out of date, that's all.
I don't think things have changed too much. I think they'll just change the date, charge us $1,000.
Everything went up 25%.
Yeah.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
The ayes have it. Next item, this is from Carl, request to open the industrial park bids outside of a select board meeting. I see Carl is still on. Thank you for your patience, Carl. I did talk to Carl about this, and the protocol requires reading out the bid specifications for each of the design elements in the bid. So it's quite a lengthy process. You've got to verify the bid bond amounts and so forth. So the intent would be to just do that in a public meeting, but not as part of a select board meeting, which is normally bids are open in a select board meeting. Carl, do you want to elaborate or add to that?
I'm sorry. Yes, I guess two reasons for suggesting allowing the bids to be opened at a time other than at a select board meeting. As Paul said, because of the length of time it would take to every line of the bid has to be read. So for every item in the bid documents, for instance, how much the contractor is going to charge per foot for installing water line, how much the contractor is going to charge per foot for installing the conduit for telecommunications, et cetera, et cetera. All those per unit price bids need to be read individually. And the second reason is the contractors, and probably Mumley also, well, Mumley maybe is used to attending night meetings, but contractors would not be. So I feel it'd be better use of everybody's time if we could open the bids at the stated time and place in public. So the contractors would be invited to attend the bid opening, and then we would follow the procedure that's prescribed by NBRC. And then when we get done with the bid opening, Mumley would take the bids and do an evaluation to check them over good to help give the select board a recommendation for an award.
You need a motion to approve?
Yes, the reason I'm asking this is that it's in your procurement policy.
Does it say it has to be at a select board meeting, or does it say it just has to be a public meeting?
No, it says at a select board meeting.
A select board meeting, yeah.
We need to change that. I'm motioning to approve them being opened outside of the select board meeting at a public meeting that anybody can attend.
Second.
As long as Carl's gonna post it and everything.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Guys have it. Thank you, Carl. Sorry it took so
Yes.
long to get to you.
That's okay. Thank you, guys.
Okay, gravel processing bids, review and possible vote. We have 4.
Are they in our packet?
No, not over yet. We
No,
have
no,
4
we're not.
gravel processing bids.
The worksheet's here to put them in.
None of them are open. Are they all 0?
They're all in my hand.
That hurt.
Okay, first one from Dale E. Percy, Inc. Dale E. Percy bids $6.93 per cubic yard. And he initialed all 3 of the stipulations, which is I have read the RFP and understand the work required. I have general liability insurance, I have workman's comp insurance, and I have all required licenses to perform the work. Next bid is from GW Tatro. GW Tatro bid $110,000 and indicated checked off all 4 items as well. They added an alternate option to screen the material without crushing to 3/4 of an inch, which is $60,000. And provided references and so on.
Do you know how many yards it is?
It's a really good question.
Okay.
We have a range of estimates. That's pretty good to get out. So we can get some of these. Next bid is from McCullough Crushing, Inc. And the bid price is $9.50 per yard. And all 4 items are initialed. Okay, that's that one. And the last one is from Boulder Excavation. The bid request, by the way, did state that it's approximately 10,165 cubic yards. So be that it may. The last bid is from Boulder Excavation.
65.
And the bid price is $69,855.60. And all 4 items are initialed. So we have bids. Adrian asked I think the important question at the moment, do we know really what the volume is? Because some of these are per cubic yard and some are totals. So we need to make sure we're all talking the same language. The bid spec says, I know I just read it out a moment ago.
10,165 yards. I got that number from Jason.
So the lowest bidder is Boulder. Although, if we took the alternate for screening the material from Tetro, that would be the lowest bidder, and it would be closest to what we had budgeted.
So the question, I guess, would be how much are we losing by not crushing? How do we know?
I'm not a dirt guy.
In talking to Jason, the specs being 3/4 and less, he could use that as part of his winter sand, or he could use that for his road material. So, that's why he said it was important to let the material be crushed down to those specs.
Right, so the option in GW Tatro's bid is to screen the material without crushing. So my question is, if we don't crush, how much do we lose?
Right.
How
Right,
much
so we
is-
probably lose, the volume of rocks in that material.
Which we could have crushed, used for crushed stone or whatever. Right?
If you're gonna use it for roads, probably better to crush it. What I heard is we want to use it for road sand. And then you'd be better if you didn't crush it, because when you crush stones, they make like a lot of dust. And that's gonna make your 200s, which you don't know, there's sieves you test. 200 is the finest, and that's more like a clay or a sticky sand. And so the using it for winter sand, I wouldn't crush it. If you're using it for road, that would. So you gotta decide. And we did we got this app where we can tell how big the files are. And we came up with 10,900, so pretty close.
I thought that when we talked to Jason, so it's mostly gonna be like 2 years worth of saving. Not much used for gravel, but
2 years worth of
winter sand.
sand.
That's assuming you're crushing.
I guess. I think just the volume thing.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I guess I would suggest, sounds like we should have a conversation with Jason. We've opened the bids, we've read them into the record, so that's fixed. We need to decide if what our intended use of it is, and if we want to reconsider the crushing, as Greg suggested, then we need to put out another bid. But I'm open to a better
Or
approach,
we have the ability to reject any of them,
or not accept any of them.
right? So we could just accept, reject all and accept, whatever.
I mean, whatever. Are you suggesting?
If it fit our need and we already had the bid, it's hard to rebid. Then everyone knows what they're bidding against. Is my point.
Okay, so you're suggesting we don't make a decision tonight, we decide not to decide, but we accept all these bids and
Talk with our foreman and decide at our next meeting. He
I like
probably
it.
needs to see the prices too. Right?
Greg?
Say that the 2 prices for crushing, that's a very good price. You know, it's cheap. I mean, McCulloch does crushing all over the state. I think he was what,
$9.50.
$9.50.
Yeah. So if you get them done for $7 or $6.95, that's cheap. That's really cheap.
but you were sort of suggesting that crushing might not be in our best interest if we want to use it for road sand. Okay,
When you use it on the roads, you need top. So you gotta figure it out what you can use. it for.
Yeah.
I will say that's a good price. No mobilization on top line.
nope, flat.
That's a pretty good price. I'd probably hire it myself, but
Thank you for that, Greg.
So I guess motion to accept, and after foreman review, we'll make the decision at our next meeting.
Yeah,
Second.
Was there a second? Excellent. Further discussion?
for future meetings, maybe we should just have Jason zoom in for this portion or make some kind of arrangement for him to be here. So we don't have to go back and forth.
I think our procurement policy just needs to be changed, opening these up in the meeting and having to make a split second decision. Without even reading it, you know,
Yeah,
there's mobilization there, as one of them say doesn't include fuel surcharge, I don't have a clue.
Well, the bid specs was just strictly based on crushing and violent.
This is a simpler one, I'm saying.
Yeah, but in general, there's some review of all contracts, so the bids.
Right, Legion Field bid, there might be exclusions or clarifications that are relatively important to that project that we're gonna miss.
Oh, that's coming up. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. The motion is to accept all the bids and after discussion with our road foreman, make a decision how we're gonna use it and decide which one to accept.
Deal.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Right.
All
All
right,
those opposed? The ayes have it. Next item. Said Legion Field bids. Of which there are 2. First one is from Larry V's Excavating. Larrabee's Excavating, bid price for the main scope of work, $48,000. Bid price for alternative one, $8,000. Bid price for add alternative two, $3,600, $3,600. All four items are checked. Again, the same ones I've read and understand. I have liability insurance, workers' comp insurance, and I have all required licenses to perform the work. Okay, that is bid number one. Bid number two is from Hollowell Excavation. Hunter Locke from Hollow Excavation, pardon me, Hollow Excavation is the name of the LLC. Bid price of main scope of work, $24,785.13. Bid price for add alternative one, $8,864.40. Bid price for add alternative two, $3,243.50. He has read the RFP and understand the work, initialed the have general liability insurance, and initialed I have all licenses to require the work, required to perform the work. He did not initial I have workers' comp insurance. And references are provided, as is a certificate of liability insurance. Quite a difference there in costs.
This is where this process stinks.
Yeah.
You know, does he not have workers' comp insurance because he was sole proprietor and he opted out?
That's the way, if you're a sole proprietor, you do not need workers' comp.
Unless it's a bigger client, which is, he's not responsible.
Right.
But then, not the, that's the state, but if you did that, then you wouldn't get any sole proprietor. Because they don't carry workers' comp. So, I mean, it's a decision you gotta make. From now on, you know, you got another one of those procedures you gotta expect.
Well, we have
Yeah.
about $26,000 for this project, Rosemary Howard. 26, was it 24?
Yeah, 20, I think, Rosemary was in there, I think.
It's about 26.
About 26. So we're only, I guess if we don't take any alternates, our only option is hollow excavation.
Well, I think we need to look at the wording. Charlie raised a good point. If it was a requirement, then we need to, if we had the wording in our request that town can waive any requirements, so forth, for the best interest of the town, then we have some wiggle room. If we didn't, then we have to figure out, we have to reject both and start over.
What are the two alternates?
John, do you have the RFP in front of you?
I don't have it with me. So one alternate there was the three lights that were that would be placed around. And Howard, what was the second alternate?
What was
One was the lights,
it? Yeah.
the electrical for the lights. Oh,
I don't remember. I'm not sure I ever saw the RFP, by the way.
Is it on the website?
The RFP's on the town website.
Yeah, we're looking it up. Hold on a sec.
The internet's not working.
So my thought is, if we wanted to award it to, is it Hollowell?
It's
Hollow Excavation. We could vote pending confirmation of sole proprietorship.
Is that a formal motion?
And pending the wording of our RFP.
I would second that.
Sounds like you got a motion and a second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, but it's generally opening sealed bids.
Topic for another day.
Okay,
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. All right, thank you very much. All right.
all that. So the next item up.
Yeah, hang on. Next item up is moderator discussion. This is on the agenda. Long story short, David Williams has been our town moderator for eons now, 40 years, I believe, or thereabouts. Through some sort of snafu, he was not on this year's ballot, but thought he was. Didn't find out he wasn't until he went to vote. And so there were two write-in candidates. David got some votes. Beth Foy got a couple more votes and was over the minimum required, so she won the election. Having talked to Dave, because they had discussed this ahead of time, she then declined the election result. What they had intended was that Dave would be on the ballot, be elected as town moderator to finish out this calendar year, which was his desire, and then step aside and ask the board to nominate Beth for the upcoming town meeting in 2027. I'm not 100% sure why they came up with that plan, but that's as I understand it. So this is on the agenda tonight. My suggestion is that the board appoint, we currently do not have a town administrator because we elected Beth and she declined it. So thank you, town moderator. So the suggestion is that we appoint David Williams as town moderator with the understanding that his intention is to step aside prior to the next meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Trying to get things moving here, Paul.
Further discussion? I know, I'm deliberately waiting to know you. No discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Next item. Library contract, discussion only. Charles, this was put on the agenda, I think, based on our last meeting. That you indicated you'd like to have this on an agenda item.
I think everyone. In your email, one of your email posts, you said it's a pay-as-you-go contract. I read the contract which has been posted. And the contract is dated, I believe, I don't have my notes with me, to expect I was speaking. I believe the contract is dated December 15th. And your first progress payment is dated, is scheduled to be made December 19th, 4 days later, for 25% of the contract. In 4 days, the contractor is going to do 25% of the work. Really? That's pay as you go? The second payment was due 49 days after the contract was signed. And it brings the total to 45%. 1% a day for the first 45 days. Pay as you go. I don't believe this was your argument for not requiring the bond, that you have it structured as a pay as you go.
It's not pay as you, it's not pay as you go.
That's what you said.
Well, okay. What I meant by pay as you go is that we're paying in segments. We're not, the contractor is not putting up all the money up front and then billing us for all the supplies and labor after the work is done. We're paying for the next month's worth of work, a month and a half or 2 months in advance.
Which is not typically how contracts work, but it's okay. You didn't want to bond it for whatever reason. Got another problem with not bonding. God forbid something happens to Brian. Who's gonna finish the job? That's why you have a performance bond.
Understood. And let me just say for the record,
It's insurance.
you're right. There should have been a performance bond. There should have been a payment bond included in the contract, and there wasn't. I'm not 100% sure why, but there wasn't.
Another item, you
The sorry, I was just going to say the irony of the situation is it's the town side that seems to be having trouble holding up their end, not the contractor, but that's totally irrelevant. The other consideration, I guess I would point out, is that if we had a performance bond and a payment bond in there, it would have increased the cost of the contract, because that covers, the contractor is going to pass those along in their bid. So we'd be in a bigger hole than we are now, but that doesn't.
Along with the payment of the bond, you typically have a bid bond. And I understand you had a lower bid than the one you accepted by about 7%. Now, that contractor made a mistake apparently in submitting his bid. But his bid bond, if he either took the contract for what he bid, which would have saved his money, or he forfeits his bid bond, which typically is 5%, which would have covered the difference between the bonded and unbonded jobs. So that's a kind of a specious argument about costing more money. One way, yeah, maybe.
I'm not sure I follow that, but
Let me explain one more time. If the job is bonded, I have to furnish a bond. I'm going to bond the job with my successor. Typically, when I bid the job, I furnish a bid bond, which indicates that if I'm successful, I will be able to get payment in the performance bonds.
so the bond, okay, just to make sure I'm understanding you, my understanding of a bid bond is that if you're awarded the project, you're guaranteeing that you will go ahead and sign the contract.
Yes, but
You'll enter into a contract if you're awarded it.
the bid bond ensures that you'll be able to bond.
Okay, that's saying the same thing another way, but okay.
And so if we don't, if this low bidder had entered a contract, you'd have saved the money that pays for the bonds. If he didn't enter the contract, he would have forfeited his bid bond, and you'd have the money to pay for the bond with the higher bidder. Follow me?
Yeah, I'm not sure I see how that would fall out, but yes, I follow you.
It's okay.
I can follow it. Thank you.
When you approve this contract, Evan made a comment, became a motion, that the town would not be responsible for any money beyond the money you had available at the time of the award, which I believe was 600,000 short at that time.
Sure, there was a lot of numbers.
Yeah, but the intent was that you wouldn't be allowed with money that you didn't have on hand. That never made it into the contract.
And I believe we specifically me have asked for a contract amendment.
Sorry?
I believe the board, specifically me as well, have asked for a contract amendment
Subsequent?
the last 2 months, 3 months.
We've discussed here on several occasions, trying to get the grant amended to clarify the wording of what's the end of the project, and also a contract amendment. We haven't, to date, don't have either. But that's getting closer to, I mean, that's not getting back to the contract issues you're raising.
Yeah, that's a contract issue. Going forward, I mean, what are we on the hook for? Are we on the hook for that extra 600,000? Right. I guess it's down to 350.
Right now, yes.
Yeah, we are.
That's part of the contract discussion, as far as I'm concerned.
So the other thing we've been having discussions with the library about, which Peter and John are spearheading, is to make Plan B essentially. And what is that? And that might be just cap the addition, make it weather tight, finish the old building so we can move in, and then we look for more money to finish the building. A possible Plan B. That would then require a contract amendment with Brian and his firm, and maybe a grant amendment. The grant amendment part is a little bit fuzzy because the library met with the grantor agency, and they indicated that the original intention was completion of the addition, completion of everything by the end of the year. And they said that's not really necessary. You don't have to do that to meet the grant requirements. But we don't have that in writing. And for whatever reason, they didn't want to put that in writing because they said it would kind of be a flag on the federal level and would cause more trouble than it solved. I wasn't at that meeting. I didn't hear that firsthand, but that's what was reported to us. So that's kind of where we stand.
Not in a good spot. Right.
We don't have a plan B.
At present, not yet. It's in development.
One final question.
Please.
Now. You see, we put out a request for proposal, but we never hired it.
Money.
We were led to believe at the time that we posted the RFP for the clerk of the works. How do I word this delicately? They in Vermont don't work on an hourly wage. They work on the contract amount. So we couldn't get a clerk of the works until we had a contract amount. I'll look up the video if you want and I'll send it to you.
Saying you couldn't hire someone on an hourly basis.
Saying we were led to believe that.
Read the RFP. You asked for a lump sum. I don't know why someone couldn't submit an hourly bid.
We did.
Not put the RFP on. With no one respond.
And now in this position we're in with the shortfall, I have said several times, as well as the board, it will just add money to the project, which we don't have enough money to complete. That's the position we're in right now. Maybe we wouldn't.
Even though this is late in this whole scheme of things, I still think we do need a clerk of the works. Just to keep track of things. You know, I know somebody, I called somebody and they said they would do it for $75 an hour. And they certainly wouldn't work there all day long. They would just stop in a little at a time and just make sure that somebody knows that somebody's showing up to check on them. And that makes a big difference on the quality of work. So,
Well, we've discussed this a couple of times and decided not to do it because we don't have the money to spend on it. If you want to revisit that decision, we can certainly do that. But we'd obviously need a professional with, you know, credentials and insurance and all that. Can't be my neighbor or your neighbor.
well, this guy's real good. He'll do us a good job. So.
Greg,
wanna
comment?
discuss it? We
Yeah,
can.
I just think that, and Charlie brought up some good points. You know, I think we need to use this as a learning tool personally. Let's figure out the mistakes we made and not do it again. You know, that's how we learn sometimes, is by, you know, shit happens. And, you know, you back up and you think, gosh, that's not gonna happen again. So I think we got something to learn. I think this is a learning situation. It probably isn't going the way we want it to, but let's do better the next time. That's the way I see this. And, you know, I appreciate Charlie bringing up some good points, because I think if he did, maybe we wouldn't learn as much. So this is an opportunity for this town, the board, and people to say, okay, we kind of made a couple little errors here, but next time around, we're gonna fix it. So that's how I feel about it.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, it's a good point. And like I said, Charlie is correct. We should have had it. I did talk to Carl, speaking of going forward, and for the draft RFPs he's working on for the industrial park, there is a bid bond, a performance bond, and a payment bond included. So, yeah, let's learn and get better. Adequately addressed, Charlie? Or is there more?
Rick was planning on speaking because it's too late.
Yeah,
It's too late.
but it's okay to air still. It's
There's no point.
Sean, let's go.
I did
Yeah.
hear today from Representative Balance office that our congressional project funding is moving forward. Grant application on behalf of the library.
what does moving forward mean?
It means it's at this stage, it's going forward, and if the congressional project funding program is accepted and the president signs the budget, it's approved.
Well, that's great. That's great. news.
It's a
Thanks for
process.
getting that
We
grant in.
may not get 100%, but I mean, we definitely should get some substantial assistance.
Okay, thank you for the update. Okay, next item, proposal to log the Gomo lot, discussion and possible vote. That you guys? No, Lois? No?
Why do we only have one potential contract?
I think this is just the last contract, isn't it?
No,
Lois, what would you like to tell us about this?
I had met with John and had talked a bit about it, and he has met with Mike Reed, who's the forester who's been working with us. But the reason that there's only one bid is that he spent a lot of time trying to get somebody to even look at Gomo Town Forest to do the job. And he has found someone, and that's the proposal.
The guy lives in Derby, all the way to the Canadian border. There's no logger close by that would be interested in this job.
No,
Really?
I think it's important for people in Derby to make a living.
How is access the issue?
It's up there.
They wouldn't access from Waterville.
Thinking. Believe so.
Why?
The landing at the bottom of the hill is, you would have to cross every brook that drains that whole property. So the idea is to come from the top where the landing already sort of exists. And the last time it was logged, that stuff in there. To get there, that road has been quite gone for a long time, so they have to haul rock, is my understanding, in order to get passable for water trucks.
State headaches. Gotcha. I don't think these are good prices.
Excuse me?
I don't think these are good prices. I think they would hold up.
35% for softwood, that's a going price.
Sure. I just run it right into cordwood for firewood. They only have to pay us $12 a cord for that. That's pretty good because they're getting what, $1.60? Right? Third usually, landowner, logger, trucker. Is that how they're doing them now? So we should be getting at least $56 a cord for that. Am I dumb with math?
Well, you're leaving out if the road required a lot of work, a lot of money
The
there.
class 4 highway, we're required to fix it if there's gully erosion over a foot. I don't know what, if the logger wants to pay for it, that's great. We might not be able to afford to fix it.
We're not required to, but we.
Actually, aren't we? If there's gully erosion over a foot? Why have we been told that?
I think select board at some point said that they would entertain it, kind of thing, but not, I don't think it's.
School policy, the statute doesn't require it.
But is it better back roads or something that requires?
Build back better road.
Right. Build roads back better, whatever. Make roads great again.
well, the road through Cotting Hollow has been neglected for years. And it's actually just not passable anymore. It's down to bedrock on the Waterfield side.
Yeah, I don't know if a water will be tough. That's.
Jason looked at, maybe it was a year and a half or so ago, that looked at what we might do to fix that road, and he
talked about
weren't trying to do anything because it was such a big project. But you might check back with him about that. But that was back when the ATV people had moved the road over where they weren't supposed to, and we were looking at getting it fixed so that it would work, but it just wasn't going to happen.
To kind of have a little add what Evan said. 35% for softwood is fine, but not for hardwood, and usually hardwood is 50%.
Oh, no, that's all soft and hardwood. That's just saw logs.
But for 35% delivered mill price on all soft and hardwood saw logs. Okay, you get 35% for softwood, and usually you get 50% for hardwood. That's what I'm saying. I know I logged my property off a while ago. That's what I got, 35 and 50.
Different markets now, I think.
You think?
Yeah, they're sending hardwood to where? You used to be able to send it to a mill that was.
So it goes right to Hardwick.
Yeah,
That's where
or
it goes to that
a
right up there. Doesn't have to go
transfer yard.
Greg?
Goes Canada.
Have we had somebody cruise that property and mark the trees and do we know that, how many 4 feet are on them?
Well, the forester should know that.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Forest with cruising.
Lowell, have we had that cruised?
Yes,
Yeah.
Mike Green's the forester,
He did.
former state forester.
And then they're not gonna get trucks in there, they're gonna wait till winter, and drag it out, scared. And they're not gonna put that road, put trucks out there. Shit, I went through there with a side by side a couple of years ago, I don't know what I could do to get up through with that.
Are you even allowed to cut a tree between May 15th and August 15th anymore? Or is that not all? Are you kidding? We can't do it right down the road.
They should require it to be done in winter. Because the
Yeah.
environmental damage.
Be a lot less damage for sure.
That, you know, so that's important. And I kind of agree with Mike, I don't know why we didn't get any local blockers, I know 3 or 4, I think that's something like that.
Yeah, same here.
But, you know, they probably didn't see it. So the bloggers don't usually read the paper, so.
Is this a killing affair that we take care of this right now, Mr. Chairman?
I don't know. Is it?
Well, I guess if you have a list of questions, we'll want to get them answered. I do want to add that the plan is to log it over 2 years. That's what they're talking about doing. And from the Conservation Commission's point of view, having the property logged will help to bring it back to something that in the future will be a good revenue producer. But right now, because it's just a mess up there.
You ought to tell that to the state of Vermont. They lose millions every year by letting all the state timber rot in the woods.
I'm sorry, could you say again what the intent of having it logged is for?
To improve the actual forest.
To improve the forest? So they would like log trees that are like they would like choose trees that are more dead or like lower quality or something, or?
But they're going to follow the management plan, and there's certain species that they're going to be taking out. They're going to improve the habitat we have various habitats up there. And we've had management plans for habitat done over the last 20 years. But we haven't had any work done in there as far as managing the tree growth, and that's what we need to do.
Okay.
So just a quick question of process. This was advertised through all the normal channels and on the website and so forth, or how did this go out?
Well,
Sorry, the RFP.
Mike was the one that handled working on lining up foresters. You know, he just did the one up in Wolcott, the town forest there, and is connected to the folks that will do that kind of thing. We didn't have a specific RFP.
Okay.
Now that I think of it, you know, because we hired him to do the management plan and then had him take over.
Well, I have land in land use and I have a forester. And I cut my timber and I didn't pay my forest for 20% for a handling fee.
Well, somehow we have to get hooked up with Mike's forester.
Well, I mean, I'm just telling you, it's
Sue?
Well, you probably pay him for a management plan.
yeah, I did.
Should be
And it was certainly probably less money than 20% of this total job.
It depends on the quality of the timber, which we've heard isn't great.
But 20% is 20%.
Without waffling through all that, because these are the taxpayers' trees, I personally think we do owe it to them to get together an RFP and have it bid out instead of going to, and I'm not trying to say the logger that filled this out would do a bad job, not saying that at all. Just making it fair and open. Another thing to add to the list.
Yeah, I couldn't support this single contract myself.
Oddly enough, this would actually bring money in, Craig.
Greg,
What's the total footage up there, you know?
Don't have a clue. It's not all bad.
written here, nothing.
So you don't know. if
Don't have a clue.
100,000 feet or
No.
10,000 or whatever.
do either of you know, have a ballpark?
It needs to be surveyed, right?
It's been.
That's part of what
Yeah, we
like,
have it.
It's been cruised, but it's, okay.
Oh.
We don't have that.
100,000 board feet, hopefully, 500,000.
Honestly, I didn't see it. Mike kind of took off with it. He did the survey and he said, I'm gonna find a logger and just went for it. That's. It's got connections, so, right? We let him go and see what he could find. Honestly, I was thinking, you're not gonna find anybody, and he came up with somebody. So I'm all in support of sending it out, but. The outline of that RFP is gonna have to clearly state the access to the concern. Not just the.
And these people have been up there and seen it and accepted it. And I also want to add that we've been trying to work with the county forester since I don't know when, because that's a part of what they're supposed to do. And we just got nowhere. And then we found Mike Reed and we've been able to move forward, but this has been, what, 4 or 5 years in the making? Seven.
Well.
So you got no feedback, no support from the county forester?
No.
None. Okay, good to know. All right, so we have, I believe, a motion from Evan, is there a second?
What was your motion?
What's the motion?
We made a motion. Evan, would you like to make a motion?
I didn't hear a motion.
No, there's no motion needed. Add a logging RFP to
Is that
the old business ones.
the consensus of the board for us to put in our RFP? in?
Well, we just can't let this get buried. We need to, they've been working on this for 7 years.
Yeah.
And we need to bring this to fruition as quick as we possibly can. So.
Clear cut it all.
Okay,
So you're in favor of RFP or no?
Yes,
Okay.
but we need to work on it, but we need to get on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Okay, so this is warned as discussion or possible vote, so we're essentially choosing not to vote, but the board consensus is to get together an RFP, get it out, see where we go.
Love it.
Correct? Sure. Okay, that's the temperature of the word. All right, thank you. Thank you, Lois.
Do appreciate your time on this.
Thank you.
All right, next item, Emerald Ash Borer trunk injection, review and possible vote. Sue, you have anything to say about that? Yeah, did we do this once before?
Did Mike get his?
Where are these trees? This Old Mill Park?
Let me address that, okay? Let me address that, Adrian. I came to the conclusion that even though I would go to the school to find out how to do this, it would be just my luck that I would inject them the proper way and they would die.
Mhm.
And I would never hear the end of it from Sue, and I would never hear the end of it from the board. But what's that? You're offended? Yeah, well, you're gonna be really offended if I tell you that what we should do is plant some more other trees that are hardy and get rid of the ash trees.
That's just the point. We can't plant there. It's capped. This is Old Mill Park.
I know, but still, what were you saying? One of them's dead?
There's one that died. Do we get a refund on that squirt?
The big one's down at the end. You're driving in, you're looking straight across the field down there where the food stuff is.
Yeah,
There's 8 good sized trees down there.
so we don't squirt the couple on the first parking lot?
there was an oak and two maples that have died. They were planted in tailings. And when we first started the tree board, there was an ash. Remember the ash? It was straight across from, the pavilion. And it was about 8 feet tall.
Excuse me.
It was about this big. And it just withered away and died. So we cut it down. So what happened to this trunk? That tree was 30 years old. It was planted in tailings, and that's why you can't plant down there.
Really? Even if they all died, you couldn't replant?
No.
Can't break the cap.
No.
Can't tell what that is. Not allowed to dig one a foot or two.
It's a couple inches.
Yeah, it's not much.
Yeah, not much at all. And those ash trees happen to be hitting dirt down there, and they're the only shade in the park. And people have asked us to plant there, we just can't do it. So I think that's you say.
Okay, I'll make a motion for Mike to not be the official squirter and for Sava Tree to be the official squirter.
For now.
For the amount of,
Back there. I've already told you why I don't want to do it.
for the amount of
Just Make a
900,
motion that, spend $1,000 to squirt those trees.
for the amount of $974.70.
That is a 2-year-old price.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm not sure what they're charging now. It's gonna be in that vicinity. They charge by the diameter inch.
Well, the bigger the tree, the more they're gonna charge.
It's not a 2-year-old price.
This says the discount expired on February 15th, 2026.
Huh?
You only do it every 2 years.
Yeah, but this price expired less than 2 months ago.
Okay,
February
if
15th.
it's under $1,200, up to $1,200. I wanted to go through, so up to $1,200.
We have a motion.
That price expired because in January they sent a letter, which I paid, and they said, if you want to pre-plan this, we'll give you a discount. But it didn't happen, so we are at the regular price now.
Because Mike can't squirt.
We should build a pavilion down there.
You know something, I tell you, if I had to do all over again, never, ever, would have even brought this up.
Oh, okay.
So your motion covers it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like it'll end up being $1,026 without the discount,
That's just gone up a little bit since
unless it's gone up a little bit since then, so,
1,200.
okay.
Okay, so we have a motion to enter into contact with Save a Tree for an amount to be determined under $1,200. That's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Further discussion?
Anybody else does this besides this group here?
They're the closest ones, they're in Waterbury. And they do charge to trail. So I get somebody from Montpelier, but I'm sure it costs more. They all pretty much charge the same,
So it's kind of price fixed then.
but so much per inch.
Have we ever looked at just putting a pavilion down there?
Have to go to the down.
No, where these trees
Floating
are,
pavilion.
that are so. More important.
You can't dig. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
And this is Sava Tree, not
I-
Save a Tree, right? Sava Tree?
I don't know.
Okay, Sava Tree, I think.
I know, I've seen that name, I know how it's spelled, but I bet they pronounce it Save it.
Doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
They're
Okay,
saving.
the next item is signing authority. John, you have some
Yeah.
comments on this?
Yeah, I'm working with LCPC. They're working with the properties there in the buyout that are going through the brownfield. And they've got some documents for me to sign as the town administrator. But I don't have signing authority.
I'll make a motion to give John signing authority.
Second,
On all approved by obligations.
Yes.
second.
And you're okay that takes that from you?
Yeah,
And you still have to coordinate with Scott.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion?
To give John signing authority on all approved applications for any documents at all or for a particular type of document?
FEMA, you said?
Yeah,
FEMA documents.
I'll give it up.
There's a closing scheduled for May 21st.
That's inconvenient.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I think 2 properties.
Okay, the ayes have it.
Did you? hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Closing date, May 21st.
Yep.
All right, last item, joint meeting with the village, schedule and topics.
I don't think we,
Hey, folks, it's hard to hear up here. Can Greg, Scott,
Yeah.
please?
Hey, we're kind of busy.
Yeah. All right, next item, joint meeting with the village, schedule and topics. Obviously, we can't set a schedule without the village input. But what's the board's pleasure?
I
Sometime
don't
next
think we
month?
should have anything. Any kind of a meeting till the situation has been settled.
Anytime between the 18th and 25th. Great time.
When you're gone.
This is great time.
Got it.
I can meet next week.
Topics. In our packet, we had a list of topics, which I don't have in front of me anymore.
You're gonna go ahead and you still want to talk to them before that's all been settled.
There's other
Yeah,
business.
I don't.
Yeah,
think that-
well, I
that's
can't
enough.
imagine that they're gonna be very
Other stuff to
talkative.
that.
That's okay.
I'd rather that.
Hang on a sec, Scott. The list of topics, does anybody have that?
I don't have it.
It's in our,
I
do, hang on.
That was right here.
Okay, list of topics include
Oh, it's in there?
subdivision and sale of jointly owned property. The municipal office arrangement, i.e. downstairs, ending the barter system for salt. And the clock tower.
No, I
That's
got
what we have
these-
so far.
I got these topics off minutes from a village meeting. Where they were discussing the
Oh,
topic.
Okay. Okay. Other topics to add?
I talked to Eric. And he mentioned the town and the village jointly own the town forest, like 180 acres. And he was wondering if that might be something there to consider a sale of.
Yes.
Consider this, I'm sorry.
Consider the sale of.
Well, yes and no. We don't mind entering into discussion, but I'm sure they're gonna want top dollar plus.
Originally.
Okay, well, let's not try to debate topics. We just get a list of topics right now, okay?
Railroad Street.
Okay, Railroad Street, thank you. Others?
The old mill house. But will that count as, do we have like just properties in general?
It's got subdivision of sale of jointly owned property.
Okay.
A subdivision, I think is what we're talking about there. Scott, sorry.
Yeah, so I was thinking for myself and a couple of other people in town, and so this is my wife, depending on how this goes off. We went to a village meeting. And we were sort of blown away that they're hiring new staff, extra staff to take care of their business. And when it was sort of, teased out. The separation, the clear, like dividing line separation between village and the town where everybody used to work together with a little bit of hardship, but we got over it. I brought that up individually to some of the trustees, not to put anybody on the spot, but here I am putting you guys on the spot. They blamed this on you guys. And I'm here to ask, almost past my bedtime. Whose idea was this? To do this complete separation? They're blaming you.
Eben can answer.
A year
Sure,
ago,
let's
a year or more ago, the board authorized the chair and vice chair of the select board and the chair and vice chair of the trustees to get together and talk about this issue. And my understanding is it came out of that meeting. There was 3 out of 4 people at the meeting were in favor of the separation. I wasn't there. Evan was. So,
I was.
Yeah, me too.
You weren't there.
no, you weren't.
Village trustees. That the
I mean-
separation is the select board's fault.
No, we met and decided.
Everything's our fault. You gotta understand that.
That's why. I'm here.
I mean, there was an open dialogue and we talked about pros and cons. I mean, one of them is just efficiency, clear lines for the public. But I mean, it was recognized. I'd like to say by everybody in there. That there may be some changes in process for the public and there might be some frustration because of that. But we both have different things, different directions that we were going, and the best for the employees appeared to be what we are doing.
My concern is, because now we're separating staff that used to do joint work between the two groups. Now everybody's hiring their own, which is more cash. And you're asking tax dollar people, me and everybody else is visually permanent. To potentially see an increase in overall budget on both sides.
I think we just covered that.
Well, we're reducing our budget.
Yeah, ours is reducing by
Ours is going down.
$14,000.
By doing this.
Yes.
Okay, I will be at this meeting again. When everybody meets, just to give you guys like full opportunity to know that I will be there bringing up these points. Because when we get to this part in a very small community where we can't get along, we feel the need to separate because there's not clear avenues for who does what as far as the residents are concerned, and not to tease that out and get that fixed. It seems almost, no offense, childlike.
We would love to be able to fix
Right.
things.
And I feel like it's too late. We're separating real estate, we're separating employees. And again, there's a large population of our community that would love to see emerge between the two to put an end to all this. And I think if the village residents see an increase in their overhead where they have to pay taxes and there's less definitive, like who does what. And, you know, I'll bring up a storm drain next to my house. When I was not able to clear it myself, but I called down because our house was flooding, because everything was coming off the clay hill. It was an argument between village and the town. Who was gonna come up with a backhoe and dig the culvert out? With you guys separating, excuse me, I shouldn't use that word, but you folks separating. How is that any more clear?
Well, with
How is it
respect,
helping residents of Johnson?
Having shared employees over the years has been a headache. You were a trustee
I
at
didn't
one
think it was that
time.
much of a headache, Mike.
Well,
We got around it, we
Yeah.
made it work.
well, things are different. I think things are better if they're clear cut. One has one has another. I mean, look at Hyde Park for crying out loud. Their village office is in the village and their town office is in the town. They have two separate offices.
It doesn't make it right.
Well, at
It's
least,
just-
at
Hyde
least
Park
it's
is
a-
a rat's nest. It's just another example of things going south, where you have two operational boards, two managers, different employees, all trying to do the same service for your taxpayers in this community to make a safe and healthy place to live. And I just feel like we're jumping off the boat. You know, this is mine, this is yours, don't touch it, it's ours.
No, I think you're being too simplistic there.
I'm not being
Scott.
simplistic.
I think you are.
This is how I feel, Mike. This is how my neighbors feel. And if my wife is still gonna talk to me for being verbal about this, she feels the same way.
Nothing wrong with being verbal.
Well,
I vote for a mediator.
it'd be cheaper than buying real estate.
Yeah, no, nice lady, do it.
I mean,
I mean, you're right. In an ideal world, obviously,
Maybe not spend it.
thanks, Greg. In an ideal world, obviously, we would be able to just work things out and get along. It was a problem in the office last year, and that's what led to this whole conversation. And that's where we ended up. So I take your point. Obviously, it would be nice if we just sit down and everybody resolve everything, but for whatever reason, the town and the village have a history of not being able to work together very well on things. And that has not improved. It's kind of silly, but
Case in point, being blamed for the problem. That's not helpful either.
That's why I'm asking you for the honest, answer for this
comment from the village trustees. They blame this on you guys.
I mean, individually, as an individual person, I do believe it would be better to have clear cut lines. I honestly believe it would be better and more efficient for the village, better and more efficient for the town, because we do handle separate things. I hear you that we all serve the public. But you know, how many roadways does the village manage? You know the answer to that, right? We don't own Sewer Plant Road. So there's what, one for the village? How many sidewalks does the town manage, right? We need to work together, but having this intertwined, I've been on 5 different select boards, and I remember going cross-eyed when they tried to explain, well, nobody's a shared employee, but the village reimburses us 40% for X employee, and we reimburse them 20% for X, but then they reimburse us 80% for X, and we give them 60%. It's a convoluted mess, Scott. Actually having employees and getting rid of this due to, due from, back and forth and everything, I think is more efficient for staff, both on the town and the village side. That's a completely different conversation.
Yeah, very cut. The
Mhm.
village can run their power and light, that's all they have to worry about. The town gets everything else. Clear cut, easy breezy. But instead, we're doing this new idea that I think is gonna complicate life for taxpayers and residents in this community, especially, you know, we want town people to come in, we want businesses to come in. We still have 2 boards, and now they're not even working together. That's complicated. And if there's another town who has a far better approach on town government, why go to Johnson?
I don't think because of separating employees we'll work together any less. We might work together even better, but it doesn't mean the town and the village won't work together less frequently or easily than we do now. It's just separating the employees downstairs so they each have a clear line of command and a clear supervisor.
We're not adding any staff.
We are not adding staff. The village is,
Replacing.
well, the village is essentially replacing Rosemary. I mean, they're hiring a treasurer, but they had a town clerk treasurer they're already paying for. So they're, I don't know what the exact percentage is, but it's not like they're adding a staff above everybody who's here now.
I thought it was Rosemary was not able to retire at.
We tried that. It didn't work. Was that a motion?
Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Okay. Are there other topics we should propose to the village to discuss?
We could talk about a merger.
Let's not.
Oh, boy.
Say we did.
Um,
Town back up. I'd like to buy them out. Feel like it was cleaner.
well, we should just list all the assets and properties and discuss all of them.
Yeah, I wonder if the village stuff is pretty capital asset.
I don't know.
I know at a previous meeting there, we talked about the bell tower.
Yeah, that's on the list.
Clock tower, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, does anybody have any strong preference in terms of schedule when we do this? Sometime in June?
Sure.
About the 12th,
I like it.
but never.
What's June?
mm,
I don't know my calendar, but let's just ask the village if they're interested in having a meeting sometime in June. We'll start with that and then come back to a date.
Okay.
And ask them if
Yeah.
they're even interested in having a meeting with us.
Yeah, I may say.
They could just say, no, we're not to worry about it.
Yep. Okay. We are now to the executive sessions. So we will thank you all for your attendance.
The 2 additions.
Oh, I'm sorry, wait a minute. We have additions. Don't go yet.
Is the board okay with appointing me as the interlocal board representative?
I'll make a
Assessor Services?
motion to appoint Eben as our interlocal assessor.
Services representative.
Services representative.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Oh, abstained.
Oh, I said aye.
Okay, the ayes have it.
And
Next
also,
item.
I need approval from the board. It does look like Justin's gonna go a little bit over on his hours for this year. The interlocal towns are okay with it as long as we pick up that hourly cost. Some of this is due to the E911 work on Melody Lane and Mudgett Hill, which we kind of directed anyways.
How many hours?
30 is
Wait,
the prediction
For the year.
for the year.
That's peanuts. Move forward with it.
Is that a motion?
what did,
Yeah.
I was just wanted to know, what did he ask when, during budget season, to have his hours increased for? Was it this?
No, it wasn't this. It was catching up on the tax maps or something. Could be.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night, John, Harry.
I can get clarity if you'd like.
I was just curious, like if we said no then and we're saying yes now, like, kind of thing.
It's no budget buster.
I just wanted to know.
I thought that was like tax maps and
Mm-hmm.
he wanted to get serial numbers for mobile homes. Put in all the lister cards, which would probably be helpful, but
So it's 30 hours spread out over the year?
yeah, he's probably gonna be 30 hours over for a whole 12-month period.
Okay.
I would love to make a motion, but I don't know what it is.
To increase,
I think a general
This.
consensus. You okay with 30 hours over?
Mhm.
You?
Yep.
I was working.
All right, general consensus, good.
Okay, we can do that. Yes and yes. Okay, we are now up to executive session.
We gonna discuss this FEMA letter?
We can,
I think we should, Mr. Chairman, about the Julian Scott House.
We did not put that on the agenda, nor did we add it.
We didn't,
We should have added it as an additional item.
a retro at it. We can still have a little discussion about it. Because we were talking about money a little while ago. This has got the potential for a lot of money right here,
why?
because read what the deal was.
I thought it was just,
$1,000 job.
I thought it was just a pause.
It is, but there's a lot more that goes to it than just the pause.
Okay.
yeah, the Vermont Emergency Management Secretary, Stephanie Smith will be here at the next select board meeting. And one of the things she mentioned is if we're looking to go forward, they can rescind the request for demolition, but we would have to pay back what Vermont Emergency Management has in the property, which right now is about $422,000.
And you clarified to me that that's the purchase of the property and probably the legal and knows whatever else they had.
Peter, you get that mouth anymore, Olson, you're gonna get a lot of flies.
And there's a big one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that 420,000,
422.
442,
422.
Where is the
422.
letter?
For what?
On the purchase of the
basically the
property.
purchase of the property and legal services and whatever.
The demolition contract and all the paperwork.
So obviously we can't do that. And unless somebody's got.
So that'll have to go after all these people that wanna save the building
state
and
want
come
to
up with
pay
that
for
kind of
it?
money.
Yeah.
Cause we're not gonna be on the hook. for-
We should put this on the agenda.
Yeah, let's not talk about that anymore since we did warn it, but Stephanie will be here next meeting. It'll be on the agenda and talk it through.
I just wanna give everybody kind of a heads up.
Okay, executive session.
Let me shut this down.
Donna, I think we're done. I will.
You made a motion, to executive session?
I motion that we enter executive
Yes.
session as allowed by